is present. Dr. Armstrong. Here. Dr. Armstrong present. Mr. Birkin. Here. Mr. Birkin present. Mr. Castile. Castile present. Ms. Champagne.
Here.
Ms. Champagne present. Dr. Clark. Dr. Clark is present. That. Mr. Harris. Here. Mr. Harris present. Mr. Hollis. Mr. Hollis not present. Ms. Holloway. Ms. Holloway is present. Ms. Mellarine. Ms. Mellarine is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item, please.
Your consent agenda is ready for approval.
A motion to receive,
Ms. Holloway.
Ms. Holloway and Mr. Harris. Any objection to the item? No objection, motion passes. Next item, please.
Your first item is on page 13, item 3.1, consideration of an update report regarding artificial intelligence in Louisiana K-12 education. The recommendation is to receive.
All right, can I get a motion? Mr. Birkin, Mr. Harris seconds the motion, and I understand that there is a report.
Yes, sir. Dr. Di Benedetto will make this presentation relative to some of our work on AI over the last couple of years.
Updated backup was distributed.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, it is afternoon. Okay, I got it right. That's fine, yeah. There we go. Very good, thank you. Right, as they said, Adam Di Benedetto with the department. I'm Director of Academic Innovation, and I am happy to update you all today. Kind of a state of the union, if you will, of where we've been with artificial intelligence and these technologies and our initiatives and efforts as an agency. So to begin, I would just like to give a brief overview of our timeline. And so kind of what we've done since 2022, honestly, before I even came into the role. So in November of 2022, professional learning was provided for Zearn. And this was in anticipation of the rollout that came in January 2023, where all Louisiana students in grades K through 8 received access to Zearn. In August 2023, the LDOE launched the Amira Learning Pilot. This was for grades 3 through 5, and this was an English learner pilot. In April of 2024, the AI Task Force met, which was launched around just shortly after I began my position at the LDOE. We launched that task force and provided drafted guidance that was then brought to Teacher Leader Summit in May of 2024. Where over 800 Louisiana educators received that professional development for artificial intelligence. Very fundamental in that presentation, providing them with a general overview of what some useful tools are and the work that the state was doing in this area. And then August 2024, the LDOE published the guidance, which was brought here to Bessie. And then the Amira pilot was actually expanded from the 3 through 5 English learner for all students in grades K through 5. In January 2025, this one was a little bit of a later start with this particular pilot, but Conmigo was launched as a tutoring pilot across 10 systems in Louisiana. And this was for high school grades 9 through 12. And then in June 2025, our most recent Teacher Leader Summit, we were happy to see that the number of sessions around AI, those sessions were increased. We offered more sessions, as I kind of mentioned in June. I came and gave a brief mention of what sessions would be offered, but we had AI for leaders, for teachers, and especially supporting English learners as well, and how technology could be leveraged to help those students and teachers do their day-to-day work. And so we had over 1,000 Louisiana educators who received professional development at Teacher Leader Summit. And all of this, of course, is in addition to the work that we do. As often as I can, I like to get out and support school systems and those who request professional development on this technology as well. So today, I would like to give the update on 3 particular that I just mentioned in the timeline as well. And I'll go into a little more detail about and reminder of what these particular programs are and what they do. But I'll focus today on Amira Learning, Conmigo, and then Zearn. So I'll begin with Amira Learning. And I am happy to give you a quick reminder of what this tool does. This is an AI-powered reading tutor that listens to students read aloud, provides them with real-time feedback to help build fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension skills. One of the newest features in Amira Learning is actually that the program can actually ask the students a question verbally, the students respond verbally, and it can provide feedback to their answer, whether it was correct or maybe they need some guidance as to what the correct answer is. This was piloted in 37 school systems, approximately 37 school systems across the state. And at the end of 2025, at the end of that school year, over 57,000 students were actively reading with Amira, which means that they were actually in these unique tutoring sessions, if you will, and receiving real-time feedback from the program. And then the number of stories read across the state of Louisiana, across those 37 school systems that are participating in the pilot was 4.1 million passages being read, or stories, as Amira calls them. Many systems are already launching their use of Amira this year. It is continuing, and I've been able to attend some of those meetings and professional learning around that program. And I want to note here, I know that number for active students looks a little low when compared to the licenses available, but I'll say first that this is, compared to other educational technology tools, this is actually considered very high usage, and so we've seen that. We've seen some drop off here in this number because of the end of the year measurement. And so the numbers were a bit higher, but I wanted to give you a realistic number as close to the end of the year as possible. So we have seen an increase. Activation has been great for this so far as we've begun this school year. And we're excited to continue this project and expand in some areas as well. Now, I did want to discuss here some of the research that we've actually received since my last update to you all around Amira Learning. And so this was a study that was conducted by a third party, an independent research study that was completed. It was a study conducted by Instructure, and this was done to ensure objectivity and rigor in the research. It followed the ESSA Level 2 standards, which means that it meets those federal requirements for moderate evidence of impact. So it qualifies as ESSA 2. And this means that they were able to, in this particular research and in this design, they were able to show moderate evidence of impact with positive, statistically significant effect on student outcomes through a well-designed and well-implemented quasi-experimental study design. And so the sample size was over 79,000 K through 5 students across 12 school systems in the state of Louisiana. And this was done using a matched sample. So these were students who were in similar demographics. They were matched across those systems so that we would receive results that would be the most helpful in this case. To look at some of the results, we were able to see that the study found in the key findings, first, they show that students who spent more time utilizing Amira or engaging with Amira experienced small but statistically significant improvements in reading outcomes. And so we have obviously some work to do there with implementation to ensure that we're improving the impact that we can see here, increasing that effect size. For grades K through 3, increased usage was linked to slightly higher DIBELS composite scores in spring 2024. For grades 4 through 5, more time and more passages being read were linked to small gains on LEAP ELA assessment in the spring of 2024. And once again, that was for grades 4 through 5. And then across all grades, overall, Amira users performed modestly better than non-users on DIBELS K through 3 and LEAP ELA grades 4 through 5. Though the impact size, as I said, the effect size was not as large as we would like to see, we're hoping that through our partnership and continued work with Amira Learning, we will see improvements in that area. And so we are really tightening our focus and alignment with this particular tool. All in all, Amira usage was associated with statistically significant gains when looking at both DIBELS and LEAP scores. And these findings suggest that while Amira is not a standalone solution, as I don't think anyone in this room thinks that it would be, it does provide lots of help where we need that supplemental tool that can help students improve in reading. And so particularly when we see usage consistent and embedded. We see that it needs to be aligned, of course, to a broader literacy strategy, but we see that the tool can certainly have value and will continue to improve upon that. The next tool that I would like to focus on is Conmigo. So I'd like to shift gears. I know it's a big shift. Now we're going from a mirror to the high school pilot, but Conmigo is an AI-powered learning assistant that's developed by Khan Academy, which is pretty well-known company that supports students and teachers across various subject areas. As I said before, this was for grades 9 through 12. And so we really focused on those subjects that had examinations at the end of the year that students would take so that they would have that real-time support, or as Mr. Morris likes to say, that they have that tutor in their backpack with them at all times. So if they have questions for clarification, they can pull that out and they can ask it a question. It'll provide them some feedback based on what it is trained on. And so the chart here provides some specific insight into the usage in the months that we were able to use Conmigo. We launched in January 2025, so kind of a late start there. But I think that these numbers are truly impressive given that late start, because we had 18,000 licenses available. And we had over 5,000 of those licenses being actively used. So that means students were actively engaging with Conmigo during that time, and over 600 teachers actively engaging with Conmigo, with that AI-powered tutor at that time, which can help with operational things, administrative tasks, and also planning efforts as well. So as we move into the next school year, we will truly focus on student and teacher engagement with the platform and collecting data beyond usage, because while usage is a valuable number to know how much the product is being utilized in schools and in classrooms across the state, we want to make sure that we are aligning everything that we do, all of our efforts, especially with this technology, to research. And so at the start of school, there will be, it hasn't happened yet, but we will have the launch meeting, kind of giving everyone time to settle in with the beginning of the year festivities that we know occur right now during August. So at the beginning of September, we will have that launch meeting where we will have the participating systems come. At the beginning of September, we will also have some visits to schools who are piloting this program. And so if anyone on the board is interested in the more the merrier, if you'd like to come, I'd be happy to send those dates as well so that you could talk to teachers and students who are using the program itself. So with the pilot, I wanted to give a little more information to kind of give a direction of where we're going here. So once again, we officially launched in January 2025, which truly marked an important step in Louisiana's efforts and initiatives around integrating AI in the classroom effectively and safely. And so over the first 5 months, we had 10 school systems who participated in that initial pilot. 18,000 licenses were purchased for systems across the state to utilize. And nearly 50% of the students activated their accounts, which is a strong sign of early adoption when it comes to educational technology like this one. And most notably, 71% of roster teachers used the platform, which means they actually used it for one of the key features that the program offers. And this could be, a lot of times it's around planning, providing feedback as they're planning that lesson, or maybe it's how to activate student interest by making something that they're doing in class relevant to a particular student and his or her interests, and generally anything around instruction that they might need help with. And these early results truly help us better understand the potential and the professional learning needs. So there are always lessons learned, and I think that this has been an incredible touch point for lots of teachers, lots of educators across the state, and students. And we just want to make sure that we are keeping in mind scaling programs like this certainly takes a lot of work and a lot of thinking. So we want to make sure that we are always looking for how we would scale this and provide the high quality professional learning that we would want around tools like this being integrated in our classrooms. So a little more information about professional development. From January to May 2025, Khan Academy delivered over 22 unique professional development sessions to support the Conmigo pilot, and systems were also provided on-demand asynchronous professional learning modules where teachers, educators could simply go in and find the video or find the feature they want to learn more about and do that just when they have time, a few minutes here or there. A lot of the videos are very digestible. They're not very long, so it can be done very quickly when they have a few moments to spare, which it's not always, I understand, but once again, the videos are short and lots of teachers gave positive feedback on the asynchronous modules that are available. And then we also had the con team do regular check-ins with the school systems. The con team did come down for Mardi Gras and provide the schools who were using the platform the most, had the highest usage. They provided them with king cake and came down to visit and received lots of great feedback, especially from the students who saw that, you know, this wasn't just a program now, but there are actually people who work behind the scenes to make this program happen and be able to be utilized in the schools. And so exciting things happening in our high schools. And I'm glad to see that we were able to provide this particular tool for our high school students. And then looking at our conversations with school systems and technology personnel, I know that Mr. Morris and I had the chance to visit Livingston Parish, where they've especially kind of taken the idea and been able to run with it and provide lots of professional development. The teachers voiced that they were very confident in using the tool and integrating it in their work, day-to-day work. And so what we want to ensure is that when we have tools like this that are being implemented, everyone has a seat at the table and we are all having conversations, especially our educational technology personnel at the school system level. We have educators at the table, and we have our folks who are going to focus on the privacy standards that we want to upkeep in piloting anything that uses this type of technology. We have all of them at the table at the onset. We've noticed that where that has happened, we have had greater adoption of the tool and usage as a result of that. And so as we continue, we will see, just to give you an idea of what some of the topics were that were covered in this professional development. We had Conmigo, just an intro. So teachers who are, or educators who are just kind of wanting to learn the fundamentals, what some of the features are that could be used. That session was offered many times. They also offered the students' perspective. And so giving educators an idea of what the platform looks like from the student side, giving teachers an opportunity to play around with that, figure out some of the features and kind of what feedback they will be receiving from the platform. And then also one that was obviously a fan favorite was time-saving techniques using Conmigo teacher tools. And so these were features that were helping them, as I said, in their day-to-day tasks. I would like to now provide just I have some quotations here from various teachers, leaders from across the state. And so during one school system visit, a school leader shared with us that students cannot put something into Conmigo and have it give answers and complete the work for them. We looked at the flags as it flags content if it's deemed something as inappropriate, for copying and pasting, and how to determine whether it is something to be concerned about or to dismiss. And so to kind of connect this to our guidance, this quote from this Louisiana school leader truly speaks to one of the biggest concerns that we've all heard, I think, about this technology, which is the concern about academic integrity, cheating, plagiarism, all of those things, especially when it comes to misuse of the tool in that way. And so this leader truly explains how Conmigo is providing another resource to students, and it's certainly not encouraging them to misuse the platform in any way. It actually flags those conversations and sends the entire log to whoever the school administrator is, so the teacher, school administrator, all the way up to the district level of who's being the administrator of that program in that particular school system. And so we see that through the use of the product, we're actually seeing students learning, okay, that was obviously an inappropriate use of this tool, so here's how I need to adjust in the future. And teachers can see how that particular tool is being used for their class. And once again, it's not being used as a shortcut, but it's being used as a mechanism to help students and have another support system in place for them. And then the next quote that we have is from a high school teacher. So in this case, the teacher said that sometimes as teachers, there are little things that we need to complete or create, but we don't always have the time to do it. Conmigo helps with that. It is a game changer. So what this teacher is describing is the type of support that I was talking about when it comes to planning and other administrative tasks that typically take a lot of time for teachers. I know I think back to my time in the classroom and especially teaching elementary, creating those, the agenda, creating a weekly newsletter, things like that took time. It didn't take a lot of time all the time, but something like this would provide a quicker way for me to input that information, tell it what I'm looking for. If that's not exactly the output that I wanted, put it back in or prompt it again to make some changes and revisions, and then come back to the table and say, that's exactly what I needed. So having this as a tool is certainly something that aligns to our guidance, because we are now asking teachers to enhance what they're doing, enhance their practices by using it for things like operational tasks that would typically take a lot of their time. And then they have more time to focus on what's the most important, which is instruction. And then another quote, finally, we have some more insight from Louisiana high school English teacher. I chose this one because this is an English teacher, and typically when I speak with English teachers, they have lots of concerns around using this to write essays and different writing assignments. And so the teacher said, I gave my students Conmigo as another resource. They can ask it questions if they don't know what's going on and start a conversation. And so this reflects how teachers are truly encouraging students to take ownership of their learning and learn how to use the tool by simply using it to help them with their assignments, not to do their assignments for them. And so once again, this is serving as a supplemental support, certainly not taking the place of the teacher, but it's providing feedback where maybe that teacher can't get to that student right now, but that student can go to Conmigo and say, hey, I need help with this particular assignment or this particular issue. What support can you offer? And so one of the great things we see in Conmigo as well is where it provides suggested prompts for students. So if they don't know exactly where to get started, it provides them with those initial prompts and prompts along the way to help them decide what the next questions are that they need to ask. And all the while, whether they realize it or not, they are becoming better prompt engineers in creating what the input is that the program needs to give them the output that they're looking for. And so the final one is from actually from a student. And so this particular quote is from a student in St. Bernard Parish. And the student said, Conmigo will ask me what I know. And if I say I don't know, it'll break it down step by step. And so this is another notable quote. And I'm glad to have included this quote and spoken to this student to hear this insight, because this is an example of students understanding that AI is giving them the just-in-time feedback or the personalized support that they need. They're receiving, once again, that real-time feedback, and it's individualized to what they need, because they can, in fact, tell it what it is they're looking for. And if they're not sure about that, as I said, the prompt assistant can help them with formulating what it is that they're looking for as an input. Now, to shift gears again, sorry to do this again to you, but I'd like to give an update on Zearn, and I will preface it with, I know that a full update will be given on Zearn at October, Bessie, but I wanted to provide a little bit of information about this program and what we've seen as far as usage goes, and then also some impact research that was done for this particular platform. So just as a quick reminder, Zearn is an online math platform. It provides support. It provides support in real time, much like Amira and others do, that is aligned to high quality instructional materials. And so this is providing them support in understanding conceptual concepts in mathematics, increasing fluency, and it's designed to help them students move forward in their math journey. As I can tell you, I wish that something like this were around when I were in elementary school, because I did struggle in math which is probably why I became an English teacher. And here I am telling you lots of numbers. And so math certainly comes back around and you have to know how to use it. So when it comes to rostered students, we have over 300,000 students who are rostered in the state of Louisiana. Zern is available for all students. And at the end of 24-25, over 270,000 students were active in Zern. And so that is some great usage for this particular platform. I believe we are in year 4 of this being done statewide. And so we've had a great runway. And so to see this usage is incredible. And then students engaging, the way Zern works, it's a little bit different than how we measure Amira or usage in Khan, but we look at students engaging in 90 or more lessons. And so for this particular school year, almost 62,000 completed an average of 3 lessons per week, which equates to at least 90 lessons for the year. And so, as you'll see in just a moment, in the impact study, this certainly comes into play as far as usage goes. But to give you a little bit more about the study design before we get there, the Center for Research and Reform in Education at Johns Hopkins University recently conducted this particular research. And this is a study that confirms earlier comparative analyses for Zern and the impact of it as far as lesson completion goes on student achievement in math. And so this study was focused on students at schools who were part of the Accelerate tutoring grants during the 23-24 school year. And this study is ESSA level 1, evidence of impact, which means that it demonstrates a positive, statistically significant effect on student outcomes through a well-designed and well-implemented experimental study. And so for Zern, some of the key, the Zern study, some of the key findings were the ones here that are on the screen, but I'll break them down a little bit more. So of the students in the Accelerate schools, when matched to students in non-Accelerate schools who did not use Zern, we found that, or the research found that students meeting the 3 lesson per week average completion, or about 90 lessons per year, performed about 6 points higher on the LEAP assessment than the matching student who did not use Zern. This was true across all student groups, and students meeting the lesson per week average completion, that 90 lesson per year total, performed almost 5 points higher than students using Zern at a lower dosage rate. So as you can kind of see, as with Amira and Zern here, the dosage is certainly something that you have to get right with this to ensure that it is being that supplemental tool and certainly not replacing core instruction. All in all, Zern usage was again associated with higher performance on the LEAP assessment. And these findings, along with earlier Louisiana research studies on Zern, suggest that the tool serves as an impactful supplemental math learning tool alongside healthy core instruction in the math classroom. The LDOE is continuing to partner with Zern, scaling out the implementation and coaching support of the tool piloted in these particular school systems. And more will be shared, as I said, in the statewide implementation discussion in October at Bessie. And so as I near the end of my presentation, I would just like to give you some next steps that we have. So this year, we're continuing to build our research agenda that keeps student outcomes at the center of everything we do. And so as you saw in the timeline, we've covered a lot of ground very quickly, and I think this is a great moment for us to really focus on what we're doing and make sure we're doing that well. And so this means that we're not only evaluating what's innovative and what's new, but what's effective in helping move the needle, not as a sole solution for all of the things in education, but certainly as a supplemental tool that can help us to move on the right track. And so we will explore some new programs that utilize AI, and we will have some pilots for use in Louisiana that have strong evidence ratings. And so where there's not research, we will certainly request that research be done as a part of the pilot programs. But to kind of flesh out some of the details a little bit more, first, we will continue refining our research agenda and keep student outcomes at the center. We will aim to explore some different programs and pilots for use in Louisiana that have strong evidence ratings. We will actually launch a career and technical education pilot utilizing an AI program. And I look forward to sharing more details about that one as they come to me, hopefully in the coming weeks at our next update. And we're also beginning a writing program pilot that will focus on middle school. And this will focus on supporting English teachers and English students across the state in many systems. And this will be a program that will be embedded in the HQIM and the high quality curriculum that's being used in those particular systems. And finally, we are going to prioritize coherence to ensure that all of our pilots are certainly aligned to what we are doing on the day-to-day in supporting school systems and instruction. And so one that I'm really excited about is we will have a vetting process that we will launch. This will be essentially a rubric, if you will, where we will have, we will intake these particular tools. We will have lots of requirements that meet all of the security standards that we feel are necessary to ensure that we're putting safe tools in front of students across the state of Louisiana. And we will make sure that they meet the instructional needs as well. And so we will focus on, as I said, focus on having a problem of practice that we need to solve in mind as we move forward with adopting new tools and having new pilots launched in the state. So really tightening that focus there. I know I've shared a lot of information with you just now, but I just want to kind of give a little context and make this come back to the fuller picture here, which is that all of these initiatives are really building blocks. I know I gave a lot of details, but they're all the building blocks that we need to create this and maintain this firm foundation that we have in moving forward in the innovation and in the innovative work that we're doing at the LDOE and in Louisiana as a state. And so what I've shared today serves as that foundation, and we will continue to add pilots and update our guidance as needed, provide support to school systems as needed to ensure that we are having students and having teachers, employees engage with AI-powered tools in a way that is effective and it's meaningful and it's aligned to the work that they're doing day to day. I wish I could tell you what this would clearly look like in 10 years and 20 years, but as we all know, that's a little bit unpredictable. But I think that we've certainly set a foundation and a strategic vision that is we're integrating this in meaningful ways in the classroom. We are getting lots of feedback. We're providing that. We're working with vendors who are certainly more than willing. I just had a meeting yesterday where vendors are willing to create what it is that we need. So as I conclude my presentation, I have my inbox provided on this slide, but I would also just, as I know the board may have questions, I would also just like to ask the board if there is anything that you would like to see in particular piloted, any particular programs that you have interest in. If you don't know of any right now or you can't think of any, please email me and I'll be glad to certainly get that onto our research agenda so that we can start to look into those particular programs.
Great, thank you. Comment from Dr. Armstrong.
Adam, I just want to tell you, you said two critical things to me that I appreciated, and you repeated them over and over. Number one, that AI is a supplemental tool. It's not a curriculum, and our students are still following their standards, following their curriculum, but using this as a tool to support that. So I found that very meaningful. And the fact that you also said that you are providing support, because I think our teachers and our systems need that support, that training, that knowledge, that sharing of experiences. So I think what you're doing is great in supporting our school systems. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Appel.
Thank you. Well, Adam, we've shared some emails lately. I disagree with you slightly on one of your last statements, which was that we can't project 10 years out. A little story, 20 years ago, I was on a small school board at a board of a small school, and we were debating laptops, iPads. And everybody was, we were old timers. What do we need these things for? Well, today, 20 years forward in the future, they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And it's kind of the same thing with AI, I suspect. My suggestion might be that what we really need is a vision of where we want to be in 5 years, 10 years, and 20. Now, we may not know in-house what that looks like, but we may have in the state and maybe nationally the resources to tap into to get that vision codified. And what I'm talking about is we have a number of doctoral institutions in Louisiana. Maybe we need to do is have a conclave of higher ed folks and then tap into people resources. I know, for instance, that Meta and Google and these other big institutions will work with the state on future, future goals. And I just think we need this big vision of where education is going to be in 5 years and in 10 years and 20 years, because I suspect it's not going to look anything like it is today. And in order for us to be on the cutting edge, we've got to have strategies to get to those points, and we can't wait for them just to happen. So what we got today is a bunch of models or trial runs of software packages, but they don't fit into a grid of future education structures for Louisiana. So, and maybe this resolution goes, that you may not have seen the resolution, but we got a resolution here. Maybe that goes to a long way toward what I'm talking about. But my suggestion is that we somehow or other call together the best and brightest in our state and maybe nationally, and we try to craft that vision for 5, 10, 20 years out, and then build our model out to that rather than just reacting to whatever the current best thing going on today. So that's kind of all I want to say. And like I say, maybe this resolution is a step in that direction. But I don't think we can react. I think we have to be proactive. That's my goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions from board members? I know Mr. Morris has some comments or questions. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first of all, I just want to commend Dr. DiBenedetto. I know you're a one-man shop. This is a lot of work and it's moving really fast. So I just want to commend you on your efforts. Appreciate your outreach to the school districts throughout the state, giving them an opportunity to experience and recognize the value in these tools, as Dr. Armstrong said. Extremely valuable tools. The value of the tools is recognizing knowing when and how to use the tool, right? So I have several thoughts here, elaborating on your comments. So the first one for me is, the tools that we've seen, and you and I discussed, we've discussed with teachers and whatnot, just really impressed with the fact that the ones that you guys have piloted, they're closed loop applications, right? So school administrators, school leaders don't have these concerns about kids going out on the internet and going places they don't need to be. And the fact, as you said also, that, with these tools, there's basically every student has a tutor in the laptop, right? Just think what that impact is for a teacher. Every kid in my class has got their own tutor, right? You're the kid in the back of the class that's zoned out and you're lost. You're too embarrassed to ask the silly question, right? Now you have the ability just to ask your tutor. Nobody knows you're asking the tutor the stupid question, right? You got the opportunity to re-engage, get back in the conversation. You're unloading the teacher. And then you mentioned about how these tools, the feedback you got from teachers and how it's saving them time. I wanted to reference a Walton Family Foundation Gallup study that was conducted and released recently, said that frequent users of these AI tools save an equivalent of 6 weeks of time during the school year. And so this is early implementation of these tools, and this is the feedback that we're getting from these teachers. So, things I read in the media as this technology rolls out globally across every industry on the planet, that we're going to see 25% or so of these entry-level white-collar jobs disappear. because of the efficiency that the tool brings to these industries. So you ask yourself, well, where are all these people going to go to work? I would posit that a lot of them are going to look at an educator pathway, because the efficiencies the tool brings to the educator pathway, it unloads the teachers. It'll write my lesson plan for me. I don't have to go home and grade 100 papers tonight. Student productivity is going to pick up. It makes the job more fun, right? It's more fulfilling. I think it's going to be a draw. I think personally, I think that school districts that that do develop the PD in their school districts, so that our educators are AI literate, and they've got the closed loop applications that fit with to support, again, Dr. Armstrong, to support the curriculum, right? Those school districts are going to have a competitive advantage for recruiting and retaining teachers. I think that's a value that we don't want to underestimate, particularly with the situation we have right now with getting a certified teacher in every classroom. There's a huge value here in getting that message out to our school districts so they can appreciate those opportunities for PD. And as you said, as your team works to vet the incoming vendor gold rush, on this technology that's getting rolled out, and you vet those applications, you can tell school districts that they're closed loop, don't have security concerns. Here's an estimated cost. Here's your estimate for PD support, et cetera, et cetera. And I wanted to share one particular experience that you and I had that really touched for me as we were visiting with one of the Livingston Parish school districts. The teachers were sharing with us their PowerPoint, all the things they were impressed with the software experience. And I said, okay, let's take it to the dark side. Go to the prompt and tell it, I want to commit a crime, right? So they do that. And Conmigo comes back and says, well, there are a number of different ways you could address this problem. But if you're really thinking about committing a crime, I suggest you go contact an adult immediately. Okay. Then the principal comes in with his laptop and he says, I got a text from Conmigo recently. There was a concern about stacking dead bodies up against a wall. So he followed up with the student, and come to find out, the student's doing some research on Genghis Khan. And back in the day, Genghis Khan was stacking up dead bodies against the wall. But at the end of the conversation, what you left with was the school administrators had confidence that it's a closed loop system. There's something internally that's flagging inappropriate concerns. And I get the heads up. So that there was a lot of value there. So now we get to, okay, Bessie, what are you going to do? That's kind of where my head's at, to provide the direction that Senator Appel spoke to. So those of us that were able to attend the secretary's visit last week, I asked her about any kind of guidance that she could offer with regard to President Trump's executive order of April 2025. And I don't know if folks have read that executive order or not, but basically he set the runway for AI implementation in K-12 education in the United States. And now we're at a point to where this thing's moving so fast. We've got to decide, Louisiana's got to decide, we're going to be on the plane or we're going to be on the bus. It's one or the other. And if we're not ready, if we don't have our ducks in a row with all the deliverables that we need, whenever the president's task force provides that definition, if we don't have it ready to go, we're going to be on the bus. I know that we all want to be on the plane and we want to be in the front of the plane. So to Senator Appel's point, I drafted a resolution. I want to offer it to our members, advancing artificial intelligence education in Louisiana. I reached out to a number of different educators, number of different experts in the industry, got comments from some board members, captured Dr. Clark's recent comments on ethical considerations. And so I wanted to offer those to the board to provide us some direction so that when those funds do come available, that we'll have those funds available so that we can scale these opportunities across the state of Louisiana so that every student has that touch point for that tool. All of our teachers have the the PD so they're AI literate, they can carry the conversation, and they can make those choices for which of those software applications are the best fit to support their instruction. So I don't know, do I need to read this, Mr. Castillo, or we can just save it for the record, or what's your thoughts?
It's a long resolution. It's a very appropriate resolution. Might be lengthy to read. I think the public needs to know what it says, so we certainly need to publish it in some way if you are not inclined to read it, but I think it's worthy of the public's view.
Okay,
Do you have a preference?
I do not, I'm
Mr.
looking for your
President?
guidance.
It is a long resolution to read, but having said that, if there are no objections, I would ask that it be published. All board members have had an opportunity to review it in advance. And if you want to summarize it a little bit more, then we may want to take action on it. I see Dr. Clark looking as if she'd like to offer some additional suggestions and guidance. I think it's being presented for approval, and so I think Mr. Morris points out that it is not yet a public document, and we're about to take action on it. Mr. Morris, any other opinions with respect to it? All right. Yep.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts, and Mr. Morris and I have talked about this many, many times, so this is not a surprise to him. I have no problem with a resolution on AI. I definitely think that we need to make sure that we're prepared as best as we can be as this moves forward. This is why, when were you hired, Adam?
2023.
Yeah, in 2023, we shifted some stuff around. This is why we've been running pilots. A couple of thoughts on the resolution. One, it begins curriculum integration. I just want to point out to the board that the department, nor Bessie, selects curriculum for school systems. On number two, would like to mention that if we're going to establish a state level vetting process and clearinghouse for tools, curricula, professional development, and provide districts with guidance on these things, it very much reminds me of our process for the instructional materials review process. But with that, we do have a budget and a process where we select teachers across the state to use a standard rubric to do that. So there would probably be some level of cost associated with developing the clearinghouse. And then the same would be true on educator training. Our teams push in for support, and we hold our annual conference every year. But most of the training that we provide as an agency is either legislatively passed training, such as the reading or the math training, or it is us leaning in on the vendors to make them provide training if locals are purchasing their product. So I just want to set out that we might have some limitations there as well.
Thank you for that, Superintendent. Mr. Castillo had recommended, I guess, that I just go ahead and read the resolution for benefit of the public. So if you would bear with me, I'll try to do this as best possible. So whereas on April 23rd, 2025, President Trump issued an executive order titled Advancing Artificial Intelligence Education for American Youth, declaring it's the policy of the United States to promote AI literacy and proficiency by integrating AI into education, providing comprehensive AI training for educators, and fostering early exposure to AI concepts and technology to prepare an AI-ready workforce. Whereas artificial intelligence is transforming every major sector of the economy and shaping the future of work, civic life, and global competitiveness, preparing Louisiana students for this new reality requires that educators have both a foundational understanding of AI and access to instructional resources that are age-appropriate, standards-aligned, and relevant to Louisiana's workforce needs. Whereas the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the Louisiana Department of Education, local school systems, and higher education partners, plays a critical role in fostering digital innovation in classrooms and ensuring equitable access to high-quality AI instruction. Whereas the consistent evolution of education requires occasional updating of expectations, practices, and accountability, and Louisiana should be positioned to lead in this arena. Whereas scalable AI education solutions such as modular curriculum resources, interactive learning tools, and professional development programs can enable all Louisiana schools, regardless of size or technical expertise, to integrate AI into teaching and learning. Whereas advancing AI education is a critical workforce development strategy, ensuring that Louisiana's graduates possess the technical skills, problem-solving abilities, and adaptability needed to excel in high-demand careers across emerging and traditional industries. Whereas Louisiana's public colleges and universities, under the leadership of the Board of Regents, offer opportunities for collaboration in teacher preparation, micro-credentials, and continuing education that incorporate AI pedagogy and instruction. Whereas public-private partnerships will be essential to ensure students and educators have the technology, curriculum, and industry engagement necessary to thrive in an AI-driven economy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that as president of Louisiana Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, I hereby call upon the Louisiana Department of Education, guided by an ongoing research agenda, informed by industry best practices, credible organizations, pilot programs, professional experts, and educator feedback, to advance AI implementation in K through 12 education through the following actions. Number one, curriculum integration. Promote the integration of AI education across K through 12 curricula and identify age-appropriate resources aligned to state standards. Number two, vetting and guidance. Establish a state-level vetting process and clearinghouse for AI educational tools, curricula, and professional development programs. Provide districts with guidance and recommended resources, and assist local school systems in evaluating and adopting adaptable, high-quality AI learning solutions. Number three, educator training. Expand AI-related training opportunities, micro-credentials, and ongoing professional development to prepare and support teachers and school leaders. Number four, pathways for students. Coordinate with Louisiana higher education leaders and K-12 partners to develop seamless AI learning pathways that prepare students for workforce success, college, careers, and civic life in an AI-enabled world. And number five, ethical standards. Thank you, Dr. Clark. Ensure that all AI curriculum, tools, and partnerships adhere to clear ethical guidelines that protect student privacy, mitigate bias, and promote responsible use. Students must be taught how AI systems work, including their strengths, limitations, and potential biases, and be encouraged to question AI outputs. And lastly, be it further resolved that Bessie will work collaboratively with education leaders, industry partners, and policymakers to ensure that Louisiana students graduate with the skills, knowledge, and adaptability needed to compete and lead in rapidly evolving AI landscape, and affirms Louisiana's intent to be an early and active participant in any federally funded AI education initiatives, positioning the state as a lead partner in multi-state or national collaborations, consortia, and grant opportunities arising from the president's executive order. Thank you, Mr. Castillo.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morris. And to the extent that that is being offered as a motion for the board to approve, it's why I asked you to read it. The board is going to take official action. With that resolution, I think you're going to offer a motion for the passage of the resolution, which I'll seek a second. While I'm not legal counsel, I would also suggest that to the extent that we've had a few very good resolutions that have been proposed lately, that those be made available to the public in advance. That way we can save time on having to read them. And we can also get public comment to the extent that there is public comment. So having said that, Mr. Morris, I take your reading of the resolution as a motion. Is there a second to Mr. Morris's motion? All right. There is a second to that motion, but we also have another motion. So, Mr. Appel, following your guidance this morning, we need to clear out just the motion to receive the report that was made by Mr. De Benedetto. And so can we have first, is there any objection to the motion to receive? All right. There's none. There is some public comment. I'm going to get that in just a second. So, and then finally, with respect to the resolution, I've got two public comment cards, and to the extent that you want to comment on the topic broadly and more specifically comment to Mr. Morris's resolution, will allow that as well. Ms. Mellorin, Mrs. Mellorin, do you have any comments as I invite up those to speak? And I'll say who those are so that there's only one person who wishes to speak. Mary Beth Derrickson from LIB supports the recommendation, which was the report, but does not wish to speak. Dr. Erin Bindley supports the recommendation and wishes to speak. And as Dr. Bindley makes her way to the table, Mrs. Mellorin, if you'd like to make comments, please do so.
Am I making comments to Mr. Morris's motion or to the presentation?
Either one.
Okay. I really appreciate Mr. Morris's enthusiasm and leadership in this AI field and, helping shepherd Bessie forward in this endeavor. And I do think we should be thought leaders on AI and visionaries on it. With this particular motion, though, I do have some issues that Dr. Brumley pointed out broadly. And I would love if we could take this motion and work with LDOE to solve some of those issues, mainly the curriculum integration mechanism. Number one is, we don't issue state curricula. So I think that is a concern for me and right there. And then the vetting and guidance, that funding mechanism is not present. We are under LA Doge orders to, look at cutting 10% of our budget. So my questions are, do we have a funding mechanism for the items that are directing action in this motion? Has that been worked out? So those are just my thoughts, but I do share the enthusiasm for Mr. Morris on these. But those are two concerns that I have regarding this, and also have some concerns about funding the educator training that's put in there. So those are my primary concerns with this motion. I am thankful for Mr. Morris and him bringing it, but I would like to see that he works with LDOE to alleviate some of those concerns before this board passes a motion that requires action by LDOE. Thank you.
Could I speak to the?
Yes, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear, this is not a fully funded motion, right? The idea here is to provide basically a vision for path forward. I don't see it personally as a commitment of any specific dollar amount. We're not guaranteeing anything is going to happen. The idea is to provide help members and the general public in the state of Louisiana to appreciate how fast this thing is moving, the value it brings to educators and to students, and to hopefully bring community leaders, industry leaders throughout the state together to work on the initiative. It's certainly going to require funding. That's why the document was put together, so that we would be well positioned whenever the federal funding is made available. So I just want to be clear on my intent there, but happy to work with LDOE on any additional tweaks that they want to make. But I just want to be clear on that particular comment.
Thank you. Thank you both. Dr. Armstrong.
In listening to all of the discussion, because we've had, several on AI and how to move forward, I do appreciate Senator Appel's thought process of pulling together experts in this area that can kind of help guide us in the direction that we need to go, rather than us mandating or telling the department what we need to do. I'm not an expert in it. I'd love to hear from Dr. De Benedetto and his task force or his conclave of experts to give us direction to work with the department on that.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. Dr. Bindley.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Erin Bindley with the Pelican Institute for Public Policy. We really appreciate the excellent presentation on this and all the work that's being done to be a support for schools across the state, because not only is AI an incredible learning tool, but it's everywhere. It's all around us right now. This is going to be it is a part of our daily lives, and will be for our students even more so. It is the future of workforce. These students will be competing for jobs. AI will be a part of that, and it will be really important for them to be proficient in AI just as they are in reading and math and science and social studies. And it's the future of our economy, which we want to be competitive, not only here in Louisiana, but certainly, as someone mentioned earlier, for our country in this race that we're in technology right now. We support the resolution, the spirit of the resolution, and the majority of the content within it. It's not policy, but arguably it is a directive. And we know that where there's no vision, the people perish. A scripture in the Bible by the wisest man who ever lived. But another person who was also very smart, and I actually consulted AI to figure out who said this, is that a vision without a plan is just a hallucination. Grok says that was Thomas Edison. Meta AI said it was Henry Ford. ChatGPT said it was Willie Jolly. Whoever said it, was a smart person. All of that to say that, there is real work involved in doing the things that are in this resolution. I was at the department when we started the instructional material review process, convening experts from all over the state who knew enough about their content area to do the job well and had the time to do it. And people don't work for free. So we understand that this is something that, this is likely a start. A lot yet will have to be figured out until we get to the point that these things can be done fully. That doesn't mean it's not worth doing. It just means some additional conversation on the how is going to have to happen. I think the what is pretty obvious that's the direction we need to go in. But I do hope that whatever the will of the board is, whether that's to address these issues today or to come back and do it in another meeting, to not lose sight of this. We do believe that this is something definitely worth doing, and hope that you all in the department can work on the plan to figure out how to make it a reality. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bentley. I would underscore something that Dr. Bentley said, that this is a resolution, it's not policy. So to the extent that it informs, it makes requests of Bessie, the department, it only carries the weight of a resolution as opposed to policy. That said, Mr. Justin Obney with Obney AI supports the recommendation, wishes to speak.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I will admit I am new to this side of the world. I've been a long time in tech. I've been a software engineer for about 17 years. Most previously, I was a CTO of a payment processing company, so very familiar with a lot of detail.
Can you speak a little louder into the microphone?
Is this better?
It's a little
Okay,
better, yes.
so. Okay, awesome. Okay. Oh, wow, that's a lot better. Okay, my name is Justin Obney. I am the CEO of an AI education company. We teach developers how to build this into their systems, and we know it's going to come down to confidence in the accountability that they have to have with these outcomes. I'm also a father. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old. I became obsessed with AI about 2 years ago, teaching my then 6-year-old how to read. At the time, I was a CTO of a payment processing company. As I mentioned, I tried to get a job with Conmigo on that team. When that didn't work, we started our own company. And so we work with developers. We built an education course about a lot of this stuff. We build AI for companies because we do realize this is where it's going. And we really think that AI is going to make a place, hopefully, for the uniquely human. And that's kind of our job. It's to use this technology to both let it take away the parts so we can focus on things like targeted training, targeted tutoring, and really bridging that gap for our kids. So I guess the biggest thing I want to say is we believe so much in this. We took on homeschooling because we believed we finally had the tools to make sure we could do what we needed. So it's very important that we do get a lot of this into the education of kids and that we really have a hand in it. In building systems, we have to realize that we have to build systems that are going to build people. And so that is going to be their world. We have to build systems that, as Conmigo, ask them questions on how they got there. Because someday when it is their job, they're going to be responsible for the answers that these things produce. And so we need to keep people sharp. And I guess I don't really know exactly where else to go with this other than showing my support and offering to be in the conversation in a lot of these, like you mentioned. We are trying to do that across the spectrum. We've partnered with LSU. We've started an AI engineering meetup that meets monthly to get the word out there. And so any other opportunities to really get this into our education system, we're willing to be involved with, including this resolution because of what it signals.
Thank you, Ms. Abney. All right, great. Having heard all of that, are there any objections to the motion?
I appreciate, Mr. Castile, that you're indicating that a resolution is not policy, but I know Mr. Morris.
He's not policy guy.
And the next question will be, and when can we expect the next update on it?
Mr.
So-
Chair, if you could, I got some feedback
Well,
from.
if I could finish.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
No problem. I just
Was
want
that
to
figuratively or
No.
real?
both.
Okay.
I just want to be very clear that at this point, the department runs a very structured process that I would envision doing for something like this, which is our IMR process for curriculum. That process is not a free process. That process takes talent. Adam is a one-man team. And so I just want to be very clear with this board and setting expectation that there is not funding available to create that at this moment. So we can talk about how that might look, but actually putting that into place is going to take some effort from all of us to secure whatever funding that might require.
Is now the
Morris, yes.
appropriate time?
Now would be the
Okay,
appropriate
great.
time.
So to address Superintendent Brumley's concern and Ms. Mellorin's concern, she's offered a tweak to the resolution to remove the word curriculum integration from okay, so now we're going to bring it up tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Where do we land?
It sounds like what I'm hearing, Mr. Morris, is that Mrs. Mellorin would like to offer a motion to defer until tomorrow and have this item placed on the full board agenda so that the two of you can work on those edits to bring back to the board for the full board's consideration. Is that your motion, Mrs. Mellorin?
That's my motion, and I'll explain. I do think this work is important, but I want it to be in such a posture that we can feel very comfortable with the resolution and that LDOE can carry out the items and be a leader in that, and we can support them appropriately with the resolution. So if we can work with LDOE, with Dr. Brumley, myself, and you tomorrow, we can get this in a better posture that we'll all feel good about, and we'll set forth the board's vision and AI leadership that we're trying to achieve right now.
All right, that's a motion. Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Harris seconds. We've got a few of those. Any objection to the motion to defer the item? All right, so that should clear out that item. We'll pick that up tomorrow. Look forward to an updated draft of the resolution for consideration. We also approved the motion to receive the report. That takes us to our next item. Next item, please.
24, item 4.1, consideration of type 2 charter applications in response to the 2025 request for charter school application as recommended by the State Superintendent of Education. The recommendation is to approve Louisiana Key Academy Jefferson with conditions as outlined and deny Pine Prairie Charter.
All right, his recommendation, motion to approve. Can I get a motion? Ms. Motion from anyone from the board? Mr. Birkin moves, Mr. Harris seconds. So we've got a motion and a second that now puts the motion in a procedural posture that we can hear the report from the Department of Education.
Thanks, Mr. Castillo. Ms. Gilson will give this report.
Thank you, Ms. Gilson.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brumley. Let's see. As a charter authorizer, Bessie conducts a yearly and mid-year request for application cycle for charters. As you know, you serve as an authorizer for type 2, 4, and 5 charter schools. The written law and your Bulletin 126 requires you to implement a comprehensive application process that is fair, rigorous, and executed in a timely manner. If a charter is approved, the department and Bessie staff begin the process of executing a performance contract between the charter board and Bessie. The RFA process began earlier this year with the application window opening in February. We received 8 letters of intent and 3 applicants meeting eligibility criteria to move on. During the June meeting, 3 applicants presented their proposal overview to you for their charter. 1 applicant withdrew from the process and 2 moved on to complete the entire application process. Just a quick overview of the application process. There is an internal application evaluation, and that is done by content experts here from the department. There is an independent third party who conducts a capacity interview and a thorough evaluation and review of the application. An additional review of information and data is conducted by the LDOE, and a final review of the third-party evaluation and subsequent applicant responses is completed by the LDOE. Just a reminder, the use of the third-party evaluator is outlined in statute and in policy, and the department uses the educational consulting company Schoolworks to complete its third-party evaluations. And now I'll move on to the recommendation. The school's mission, we're talking now LA Key Academy Jefferson. The school's mission is to identify and educate students with dyslexia in its community so that they can reach their full potential. LA Key desires to open August 2026, serving students in grades 1 through 4, eventually expanding to grades 1 through 8. LA Key had 5 unmet standards before their final response and review. The department recommends approval with conditions. 1, completion of all pre-opening requirements set forth by the department, and 2, development of a strategic academic improvement plan made with consultation from the department to address SPS performance with specific targets in the areas of mathematics through continued collaboration with the LDEO's Office of Teaching and Learning. That's the first recommendation.
All right, thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Dr. Armstrong.
Jermaine, do we have matched samples of students from dyslexia students in traditional environments compared to a cluster of dyslexia students in other schools? Because there's other schools that address dyslexia. Do we know how those students are performing?
So we do have other schools that address dyslexic students that are not specifically for those students, but we do not have any data that pulls out the dyslexic students at a traditional school. That's what I think you're asking to compare. We are trying to get that, but currently we don't have that.
Okay. And I'm just asking, and my concern is the 3 years in some of the other schools as an ELF performing school. So I didn't know how those students' performance really compares to others. Do you know why they were denied with the third-party evaluator?
For us,
Yep.
for Schoolworks, at the department, you must meet all standards. So you must be at 100%. If you're not at 100%, then the third party is going to recommend denial. So they had 5 unmet standards after they had gone through the third party. They then are able to submit a subsequent response. And after that response, they were only down one unmet standard.
Mrs. Holloway.
I do. I'm not sure if I can ask questions now, or we're going to hear someone else.
Yes, now, please.
Now, perfect. All right. I have questions in regards to the approval. And of course, I do want to commend Laura. You know, we've worked for several years on this, on her efforts, her dedication. However, my question here, Jermaine, is in regards to Jefferson Parish denied them. So the question was, why? And have we received anything from them?
So what we're required to do to make sure that they meet the eligibility to even apply as a type 2 is to have board minutes stating that they have actually been denied. We were able to go into Jefferson Parish's board docs, pull that they in fact had denied LA Key. When we pulled the third party from theirs, there really is no specific, they actually met all of the standards there. And at the top, it says recommendation to deny. And so there wasn't anything, Ms. Holloway, on there that says, oh, they didn't do this, they missed this standard. It's very vague that I was able to pull up as to why they did not. I have no idea, but the superintendent did recommend to the board denial and the board approved his recommendation.
Am I missing something about the district turning in a formal letter of denial and why, or approval or of some sort? If you had to go to the minutes, I don't want to get into that, you know.
Well,
deep
I will say
set.
this,
I
when
didn't-
they submit, when LA Key or any nonprofit submits an application, they must also include it. We simply go in to make sure that it's the one that's there. So we do our due diligence and we go into the board docs. It is included with the actual board minutes. It's included when they apply to us. We just simply go back ourselves to double check it.
Okay. In regards to school works denied because of 5 standards that they missed. And so I see there's financial issues. And also it talks about the founding team capacity. But then I was trying to find what were the other 3. I know they don't have a building intact to begin that expansion.
That was not one of the standards that was missed. As it relates to the finance, there was a finding and an audit. They were able to submit a response, not just to the third party, but also they submitted a response even to our finance team, which was accepted. As it relates to the capacity of the leadership, SchoolWorks did not believe that they answered all of the questions that they needed to answer. When they then submitted their subsequent response, all of those questions were answered. The location, you might be able to ask the applicant about the location, but I know that they actually had 2 different places that they were considering, and so they may have finalized that.
Okay, because I think that's one of the requirements. They should have. a
Well, they were
building
able to present to
secured.
us 2 different ones, and so I think it was just, they were at the negotiation phases of which one of those locations it would be.
Okay. And then we go into the conditions of the strategic plan. And so the question is, we're already mandated to teach all content areas, you know, and subjects. And I know in the past that there was a concern about not teaching math or LEAP wasn't given. So all these thoughts have come back because of from where we were back then in setting up a framework for them to now. And so when you look at the scores, the school performance scores, and I made sure that the board members had a copy of the school performance scores. And Baton Rouge has 3 Fs in a row, 3 years. And Caddo has an F. Key North Shore has 2 Fs. I'm talking about 2 years in a row. And for 24, they declined, still an F. And also North Shore declined. So the question is, I'm struggling with expanding a school that has 3 F schools. And do we have anything in place? And if not, about allowing a school to expand with these low performing scores?
Yeah, so I can answer, I will say this. If one just looked at the 3 years that you're speaking of and the scores and stopped at that, I think 100% you would say, well, what would be the reason why the department would recommend this? If we look a little further, we would see that they actually have 2 Bs for their progress letter grade. If we dig even deeper on a Bessie approved alternate framework, they actually made 80 out of the 100 points that you require, which actually allowed you to approve them for 3 years. So we have 2 different things. I will say this, you already know we want less than 1% of our students in a DRNF school in 4 years. So that's not something that we want, which is why we actually are saying one of the conditions is we want a strategic plan that we are going to hold you to make sure that students are performing because they have to take the leap. I don't know of any instance where we have students or we have a report at this school where students were not given the leap. If we had that, I think I would have.
Well, that has
expanded.
happened in the
Well,
past.
I mean,
okay?
and
but-
this recent.
And that's why
yeah.
I'm here talking about this because of knowing how we've worked together in the past with the math, the LEAP, et cetera, and then setting up the framework. So when you're looking at the framework that has been set up, and I think it was like maybe in 17, and this gives the opportunity for the children, for the school to have that advantage of showing the effort of school improvement. And this is Max, not only Key Academy, but Max Charter. So we're looking at a matter here. It's like, what can we do to help support these 2 schools, especially these 3 that we're referring to, and for expansion? How can we answer to the public that we have 3 F schools and approving an expansion of another?
So a couple of thoughts there. One is this particular school is a school that serves a specific population of students that are dyslexic.
Sure. know
So it is a student population that I don't think anyone would argue needs specialized levels of support. The letter grade, arguably, I can't, obviously I would want that to be higher. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, these particular students and their families, and I'm sure there might be some parents in the audience, but they feel like they have a home at this particular school setting that they may not otherwise feel that they have elsewhere, because of their dyslexia. If you look at the growth scores on these schools, as Ms. Gilson indicated, I believe they're a B for growth on that particular part of the score. And someone put this on my desk, the alternate framework. The alternate framework, which is used for Key and Max, is used for renewal purposes.
Correct.
That's what's used for renewal purposes. And when Key Baton Rouge came through the renewal process, I believe last year or the year before, yeah, this is what was used, and they scored an 80 out of 100, which allowed them to earn a base level 3-year term. So it goes beyond the letter grade here, I think, in this particular recommendation, but also it goes to the fact that we have created a set of conditions that will create, I would say, an additional pressure point for the school to make sure they are improving.
I would just like to have further conversations later with the 2 charters in regards to the framework and how can we help
Absolutely.
improve them. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Holloway. Other comments or questions from the board? Looking to my left, looking to my right. We do have a number of comment cards. I'll first read those who do not wish to speak. Erica Dukes with Louisiana Key supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. Julie Matagino supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. Eli Babineau supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. Naomi Chavis supports the recommendation, does not wish to speak. Of those who do wish to speak to the item, I'll ask that three come up at a time. Ms. Gilson, will you remain there or you'll move? Okay. 4 will come up at a time. Imuni Sanderson supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Cody Smith supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. I think this is Norman Chavis. I'm sorry, I can't read the handwriting. Supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. And Alec Grant supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. If you 4 would first come up, each take a seat, and then we'll begin with your public comment. When you make your public comment, please state your name for the record so that we can identify you. And then you may proceed. We'll start to my right. Ma'am?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I am Imani Sanderson, and I have the privilege of being a mother of Braylon Rogers, who attends Louisiana Key Academy. She just started this year in 3rd grade. So my story is unique. For the past 2 years, we were living in Collierville, Tennessee. And though we moved there because the resources, they provided occupational therapy, they provided intervention, but over these past 2 years, we had challenges. And what we realized through different assessments, my daughter has dyslexia. Within those challenges, of course, comes a sense of identity issues and other challenges that we dealt with. I tried to help. I sought school systems nearby in Collierville, looking to see what are the options. Because as you know, with dyslexia, you need specialized curriculum and resources. All of those options came with a price tag of $25,000+ a year. I am a single mother that does not fit for my family. So I did what let's get Southern mothers do. We're gonna find something to help my child. So I looked, and I found Louisiana Key Academy. And so in March, we traveled down here and we visited the school. What let me know, because I know we all talked about content, curriculum, and that's so important because I came to this decision to attend not only as a mother, but I'm a PhD student, getting my PhD in educational studies of diverse populations with a concentration in health disparities. I've studied literature on diverse learners. So when I traveled and I came to this school, a big thing for me, yes, they checked all the boxes as for curriculum, but my daughter left saying, I felt belong. I felt like I belong. I've never felt that accepted. That matters, especially in those first couple of years as they're developing, not just learning, but I feel a sense of belonging in my environment to learn. And so I made that decision to move here, and we moved here in June. And since Raylan has started, I'm gonna say every day it's a joy seeing her joy and her sense of belonging and her talking about her school and why she's happy to be in school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name is Alec Grant. Can y'all hear me well?
Pull that microphone a little closer to you.
This better?
Yes.
All right. My name is Alec Grant. I'm the first graduating class of LKA and support it. I'm here to just talk about my experience being in the school from 2nd grade all the way to 8th grade when I graduated and moving on to high school. Before getting into that school, I was very behind. I didn't even know I would graduate the 1st grade. I had to repeat kindergarten, was recommended to, and I did. But every grade I saw during the 1st grade, as a child, who was an F, a D. You know, I'm a kid, but I didn't know I was going to graduate. I thought I would have to remain just like kindergarten the year before. I would have to remain and repeat that year. But thankfully, I got through and I moved on to the second grade. That's when a new school opened up. It was LKA. And after getting tested, I found that I was diagnosed to be dyslexic. And my first day was just completely different from every other year of school. It was a completely different atmosphere, and it took me off guard for a little bit. I thought as though, that they went backward. They went over stuff I already knew. And at first I was almost insulted. I was like, I should know this, but I very quickly figured out that they were just hammering in reading, writing, spelling. Not only did they teach me how to write in print, they taught me how to write in cursive because they believed that that one stroke of the pen for every word helped dyslexics be able to read and write, which it did. I was able to go from those D's and F's in that previous school to now making A's and B's. And I felt very confident with reading and writing, all the way from second grade to moving on to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way to eighth grade. I made plenty of friends. I was perfect academically by the time I was out of the school. And when I did graduate as the first graduating class, I moved on to Baton Rouge Magnet High School. A very rigorous school, but I still excelled there, proving that it wasn't just a fluke for 7 years, and that I was a bit smarter than I thought. I maintained being an A/B student all the way through high school, taking rigorous classes, AP courses that allowed me, as I graduated as a magna cum laude from Baton Rouge Magnet High, to go to LSU and skip my first year because of all the AP credits I amassed. And I'm now still in college and making the best of it. So I really recommend this school. I believe it's transformative to any student. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Cody Smith, and I'm the Special Education Director with Louisiana Key Academy. I have letters from parents that wanted to support this mission but could not be here today. The first letter is from Dr. Trinice Harris Lawson. She's the parent of 2 children, Carter and Cameron Lawson, enrolled in Louisiana Key Academy North Shore. It says, I was first introduced to LKA a short while ago in 2024 when my oldest daughter, Carter, age 7, received a diagnosis of dyslexia. As a parent, I was able to identify her early struggles in kindergarten with reading and mathematics and actively pursued resources and avenues to help my struggling child. However, I quickly discovered that those resources are not readily available or affordable. My discovery of LKA began when it was recommended by the evaluator at Dyslexia Resource Center in Baton Rouge. As a current resident of Jefferson Parish, the thought of sending my child or children to school over an hour away was not only extremely daunting, but instantly created many complexities. I have been challenged with not only the time constraints of driving 90 miles a day, morning and afternoon, but additional financial costs such as gas and tolls. While I did not hesitate to make this extraordinary sacrifice, I am also disheartened that parents and children residing on the South Shore or near the New Orleans metropolitan area do not have access to the amazing teachers and resources that LKA has to offer. Approving this proposal for a South Shore campus not only means an opportunity for my children, but other kids whose parents are unable to make the extreme sacrifices it takes to receive a fair and quality education. Sincerely, Dr. Trinice Harris Lawson. Another letter I have is from Miss Lynn Wynn. She and her daughter, Carly Tran, recently joined LKA after our family relocated from Dallas-Fort Worth back to Baton Rouge. LKA was an important factor in our decision to return, and we are deeply grateful to have found such a wonderful school community. From the very beginning, the staff has been exceptionally welcoming and supportive, which has made this transition so much smoother for our family. Each day when we pick Carly up, she cheerfully shares that she had a great day, and she often tells us how happy she is that we moved. Hearing this brings us tremendous comfort and joy, knowing that she is not only thriving, academically, but also cared for in such a nurturing environment. We sincerely appreciate the dedication and warmth of the entire LKA team and truly feel fortunate that Carly is part of this school. So this is a parent that moved here from Texas. Then I have another letter that's pretty lengthy. I won't read the whole thing, but this is from Ms. Heidi Temple, another parent at our LKA Baton Rouge campus. It says, "Good afternoon.
Just to let you know, your time has expired. That's okay. All right.
Okay, so,
Maybe you want to defer that last letter?
okay. Let's see. This student had a previous horrible experience at school, but since she's been at LKA, she's thriving. Her confidence has gone up and she feels supportive. Whereas in her previous school experience caused her great anxiety, and she is still in counseling for that. But it's improved since she's been at LKA.
All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Chavis?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Morgan Chavis. I am the mother of Naomi Isabella Chavis. She's a fourth grader now at LKA. I am completely for Louisiana Key Academy. Reason being, just in 2023, my daughter was diagnosed with dyslexia. At the same time, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And at that time, I was still in school, and I was pretty perplexed on what I was going to do. And I was living in Houston, Texas. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. And so battling health issues, I told myself, let me go back, home to Kansas City to be near my family, all the while trying to address the whole facts of my daughter having dyslexia, getting her an IEP, and understanding what dyslexia really is. Once I went back home to Kansas City, and I started doing my research there in Kansas and Missouri, they did not have any dyslexic schools except for one, and it was a private school, and the tuition was $30,000. And I had to make a choice between the $30,000 or $20,000 for my treatments. And so, of course, I was not able to afford that. And so once my treatment was over, I moved back to Houston, Texas in 2024. And I continued with my daughter in charter schools and public schools. And there was minimum. She would get a little bit further, but it was starting to affect her mentally and emotionally. And so she started to begin therapy as well. And there was only so much that the public school and that the charter school that she was going to that did not specialize in dyslexia could do for her. And so I got to a point where I'm a person that I'm very solution based. I took her out of school, and because I worked from home, I started to tutor her myself. Finding out that my daughter was 2 years behind her grade, and I was not informed in any of the ARD meetings how disparate she was, like how far behind she was. And for 6 months, I homeschooled her, and then I started doing more research around the country and finding out that there's only 5 to 10 schools in the United States that is not tuition based. The rest are between 30,000 to 70,000. And the more further up north and east you go, the higher it goes. And so I happened upon Louisiana Key Academy, but at the same time, I was thinking about going to San Antonio, and I signed up for Celebration. I was put on a wait list and still have not been, informed. And so I went ahead with Louisiana Key Academy. I moved here from Houston to Baton Rouge. I just did away with all my things, and I moved here, and it has been a great experience for my daughter. She is learning, and it is one of the things that is, I know I have 9 seconds, but it is one of the things that is very important for children. I came here also with Teach for America, and I assisted with Big Buddy through my practicum this summer, and there is a desperate need for the kids in Louisiana for their literacy and becoming more literate. And so I am very for pushing for this, and I encourage you all to accept Louisiana Key Academy for Jefferson Parish.
Thank you, Ms. Chavis. All right, thank you all. Next up, I'll call four more. Andromeda Love supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Joseph Marino supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Megan Lay supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Bo Sheridan supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. And I'll call one more up, Amanda Francois. And if the following, I'll keep the last four for last.
Mr. Castillo, is there coming up, may I ask Jermaine another question, procedural question?
Sure, absolutely.
So a question that I have, and just help me understand, because I know that with our charter schools, if we have low performance scores over a series of years, we have closed quite a few of them. With as I think I understood this morning, that this year's SBS scores will be coming out in October. So if we are showing growth in the three existing schools in those October scores, would it be too late for this school to come back to us for any consideration?
So remember, their renewal is not based solely on SBS. You actually have a Bessie approved alternate renewal framework for them.
Okay.
So even when the scores come out and one of their schools comes up for renewal, you're using the framework that you all have the copy of. And so we look for at least 50 of the 100 points.
Okay.
So theirs is totally, their renewal process is different than just the SPS.
Then, okay. I just needed clarification. Thank you.
All right, great. We'll start to my right. You grab that microphone and pull it towards you. State your name and keep in mind the time limit that's on the screen. I'll try not to rudely interrupt your conclusion.
Good afternoon. My name is Andromeda Love, and I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Louisiana Key Academy. And I just wanted to speak with you all briefly about some data points to talk about the growth of our students. So we know that for students with dyslexia, their core deficit is in the area of phonological awareness, and that is the strongest indicator for their ability to access the language system. We assess phonological awareness using the CTOP. Looking at all of our three campuses, comparing their performance from 23-24 to 24-25, we see that our students showcase very solid growth and performance in phonological awareness. Our Baton Rouge campus, or 75% of our grade levels move into or remain in the average range for performance. At our North Shore campus, all of our grade levels maintained average range performance across all grades. And at our Caddo campus, all of our grades either reached or stayed within the average range. So after students get to the average range in those phonology skills, which we just spoke of, then the focus becomes on increasing their reading fluency. These two reading acquisition skills are gained in 1st through 5th grade. Looking at performance of our 3rd through 5th graders at all of our schools, they all show double-digit growth in their reading speed. So their words correct per minute, that range from an increase of 14 words to an increase of 44 words. Before moving into LEAP scores, something that I want to add just as a caveat, that LKA works with students who have moderate to severe dyslexia. We are a Tier 3 program, our whole school, and our goal is getting students to prepare to return back to a traditional school. So one thing to keep in mind is that as students make progress, including on the LEAP assessment, they do move back to a traditional school setting. At that same time, we continue enrolling students who are significantly behind. So when thinking about that, that often happens in 3rd to 5th grade, which are, of course, LEAP testing years. So as we're losing higher performing students, we're also bringing in those lower performing students. Additionally, the LEAP test is timed and it has a multiple choice format, which assumes fluent reading, which makes it a very poor measure for our students. However, across all of our campuses, ELA performance showcased consistent and meaningful growth. Our Caddo and Baton Rouge campuses posted double-digit gains in average scale scores in several grades, and our North Shore campus showcased steady overall improvement. Across all of our campuses, our 3rd through 7th grade ELA scores increased by an average of 13.5 points. In regards to math, we give the MAP assessment. And on that assessment, from last school year, we saw growth in RIT, mean, and median in every grade level across every campus.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Yes. Senator?
Yeah,
Go
a
ahead.
couple of quick questions. Number one, you cited that the goal is to have kids transfer back to traditional schools. So do you track their success rate? First of all, how many do transfer? And then of those that do transfer, do you have any idea of the success as they go forward?
So we don't have a system in place to track every single student. Students transition at different times. Usually students will transition in that time from 5th grade to 6th grade because parents feel like it's a good space because everybody's going to a middle school. And with us being a 1st through 8th grade school, all of our students have to transition by high school. So it really depends on where the student is when they come into our school, how severe their dyslexia is, and the parent's preference. All of that kind of goes.
But you have no record of tracking their performance as they move into high school in the traditional school setting.
Yes, so we do have that data on a smaller scale. We don't have it on every single student who has graduated from LKA, but we do have that on certain students as far as their transition into high school. We have had some of our 8th grade classes who are now moving into college, as you saw with Alec. So we do know it's just not as
Wait, I'm sorry. I think her microphone cut out.
Sorry.
That's better. It came on.
So we don't have that data on every single student, but we do know from continuing communication with our families and our students that we do have students who go on to a variety of different high schools. Most recently, I heard from about 4 families where students went to schools such as Woodlawn, Madison Prep, and so on. Some of them are continuing on to college to major in criminal justice. We have one who took classes in high school to become a CNA. So she's starting that and wants to move forward with a 4-year degree at some point. And we have another student who graduated from Madison Prep and is moving forward with a career in welding. So we don't have that for every student, but the students that we do keep in contact with and keep up with, we feel that they have really great success.
And then the other thing was I should have looked it up. I apologize, but the recommendation was, as I recall, I read it yesterday, was that approval based on a plan to, yeah, go ahead. Tell me what I want to know. So,
The approval based on the pre-opening conditions which are established by the department, and then second, the strategic plan that focuses on math. And also that would be something that we would actually help them develop.
and that's for the existing schools?
That's for this. Well, actually, the schools that are existing, we had already started a plan to work with them because of course, we want to see these scores get better. And so we will do this for the new school should you actually approve the charter.
And do you have any results on that plan for the existing schools, or is it too new?
Well, too new, and we're waiting on some beginning of the year data.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. All right. Next up, Mr. Marino.
Thank you. My name is Joe Marino. I've served as a state representative with some of our Bessie members here. I didn't enjoy with Mr. Appel, but that's okay. Because I was in the House and he's a senator. I started with Dr. Laura Cassidy with bills in 2020, I think was the first one we passed where we revised and updated the definition of dyslexia. I'm not an educator. My background is not in education. I'm a criminal defense attorney, but we came together and we started working together, and I passed many bills in the last 5-6 years that had to do with dyslexia and improving identification so that we can identify these children so that we can start testing them. And to your question, ma'am, I don't know your name, I'm sorry. the failing schools, you have to recognize that what I learned about Louisiana Key Academy is they're taking all these students from schools that were not diagnosed with dyslexia and failed their way into Louisiana Key Academy, failed their way into going to this school for them. They're taking students that are grade levels, 3, 4 grades behind, and starting over with them. So yes, academically, you might not see that they're performing at the highest level, but they're taking, and they're feeling a need for a specialized education. And I did serve as a Jefferson Parish councilman earlier this year on an interim basis. And while I was on the council, we passed a resolution, which we sent to Bessie, where the entire Jefferson Parish Council is supporting this application for Louisiana Key Academy to come to Jefferson Parish. The councilman who took my place that was just elected is also in support of the Louisiana Key Academy coming to Jefferson Parish. I also brought a letter from Lori Slagle, who's the current chairwoman of the House Education Committee. She's a Jefferson Parish legislator as well, supporting the Louisiana Key Academy and asking to please bring that to our parish to meet this crucial need. But what I learned in talking to a lot of other families as well, that from people that go there, when you're a child with dyslexia and struggling and you don't even know that you have dyslexia at other schools, or even when they do identify you and then you start getting accommodations, you're different. You're not like the rest of the kids. You are not, there's something different about you which kind of stigmatizes them. But that doesn't happen here at Key Academy. They belong. And it's important for their confidence. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. But we want and need this school in Jefferson Parish, and it will make a difference. I'm going to stop. I'm over time.
Great. Thank you, Representative. And I do note that we do have the letter from Representative Slagle, who is chair of the House Education Committee and also represents this particular district. Thank you, sir. All right. Next, ma'am, Ms. Lay.
No, I think she left.
Oh, she
Ms.
left.
Sheridan, Bo Sheridan.
Oh, Sheridan. All right, thank you.
I'm a current parent of two LKA students that are here in BR. And the first thing that I want to say is it's not about the test scores. It's not about the test scores. And I'll tell you why. I live in Central. My school is an A+. My school is A+. They're everything. We're state champs in football. I have every reason to send my kids to Central schools, and I don't. I choose to travel to Baton Rouge because they started in Central schools, and like you said, they were failing. They were doing 30-minute interventions out of their classroom. When my third grader got to LKA, he couldn't even write his full alphabet. That's an A+ school for you, and that's what they're not learning. I currently have an 18-year-old that's in Central High School, and guess what? Due to the Disabilities Act, he doesn't even have to take the leap. He doesn't have to pass it. He failed it, and now he's bypassing it. So what does that say about even an A+ school, that kid isn't even having to worry about test scores because it doesn't matter, and it truly doesn't. These kids are there because they are being encouraged. They want to go to college, not because their teacher told them they couldn't read or they're making D's and F's. Their teachers are encouraging them every day to, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? How can we help you get there? They want to be a civil engineer and a pilot. They're already doing things that are helping them get there. They're taking these STEAM classes. They're taking classes that are going to help them in high school be prepared for what they want to do. And so I think we need LKAs in every parish. I would love to see it in my own community. I've talked to my own school board members. What are we doing about dyslexia in our current schools? Nothing. 30-minute interventions. And now I think they're even doing away with that because it's technically like you're judging kids. So now they're just bringing paras into school. I have a kindergartner that's currently at Central. She's in first grade at Tanglewood. She is already showing signs of dyslexia. You know what they said? We're going to have an extra teacher come in her class every day and just walk around and, kind of watch over her and what she's doing. Next year, she's going to LKA. Like that's where we're headed, because there's not enough people in our school system currently to help. This whole school, that's all they do. Every person there understands that these kids have dyslexia, and they understand that it's going to take them a minute to read. When they got there, like you said, they were failing. They wanted to hold my kid back. In fact, I did hold him back. And now looking back, I shouldn't have. I should have just let him go to the next grade at LKA, because you know what? In his ELA class, he had 6 kids. Do you know what it's like to be in a room in reading with only 6 kids versus 25 in like a public school? So, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for having them everywhere. Put LKA in every school.
Right.
Sorry, I'm so passionate.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up.
Hi.
Go ahead.
All right, mine, can you hear me?
Yes, introduce yourself, please.
Amanda Francois, and my speech might sound a little bit different. So, as you can see, I have my Spock fan on, if anybody's a Star Trek fan. It was actually recently revealed on Star Trek Discovery that Spock is dyslexic. Yes, Spock is dyslexic. And his mother, Amanda, reads him Alice in Wonderland to show him that, because in Alice in Wonderland, up is down and left is right, to show her son support and that his perspective matters. This is my son, George, and he matters. He runs track and he participates in Boy Scouts of America. I'm sorry. He loves music. His favorite bands are the Beatles and Fleetwood Mac, especially after he found out that Mick Fleetwood is also dyslexic. So there you go. He wants to be a Disney Imagineer and create rides and special effects. He is important, he is awesome, and he is dyslexic. Before Key Academy, I had a child that felt defeated. LKA has made George feel important. Every day he gets the support, both emotionally and educationally, that he needs there. They champion effort. Effort, just effort. And as my husband says, and our family motto is, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be your best. And if that's your best, then that's awesome. At Key Academy, they celebrate his accomplishments. And I don't hear all the time just focusing on how he's falling behind and all the things that he's doing wrong. George says that LKA is helping him learn how to use his superpowers. And to me, that's awesome. As board members and educators, we know that y'all are taking care of thousands of children, and I get that. But this one right here is mine. This one's mine. And you want every child to succeed, and we do too. As parents, I'm going to bring it back to Mr. Spock. The only thing that we really want for our children is for them to live long and prosper. And I think that my child will definitely be able to do that with the support that he's receiving from LKA. I have no doubt that he will.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm a Star Trek fan, so I'm trying not to do something.
Mr. Castillo, I have a question for Andreva. I'm not quite sure.
Andromeda.
Okay, if I may. I'm not quite sure I heard correctly, but if you can clarify, and I'm asking as a veteran professional educator, there was a statement made that the board and the administration didn't think that the students could perform better. Is that what was stated? Can you clarify? I just want some clarity on that.
Sure. So I feel like, unfortunately, there's a misinterpretation of the work that we're doing. So for our students, as has been discussed, the students that come to our school are students who have experienced academic failure for years. So as we think about those students, we know that their outcomes may look different. So we know that kids with dyslexia are using an inefficient system in their brains to read. We know that dyslexia doesn't go away. We know that they're always going to be slower readers than someone who isn't dyslexic. So they may not meet average percentile on a certain assessment. But for us, our goal is to make sure that each student is meeting what is individually their best. And that's going to look different depending on how severe their dyslexia is. And our Tier 3 program is targeting moderately to severely dyslexic students. We may have some students who can get by with dyslexia in a traditional school system through a Tier 1 program. Our program is targeting the kids that get left behind in each school. So when a school has an A on the LEAP, we're pulling out all the kids who would bring that score down. So for us, it's so much more than just a score. But because even with knowing that, our goal is still to have our kids be successful. And that looks different for each child. But as I talked about, we may not see certain growth that we would expect for someone who's not dyslexic, but our kids make growth in the areas that we're targeting, which is increasing their phonological awareness, increasing their oral reading fluency. And even though LEAP is something that is not an appropriate measure for our students, it's not something that is easy for them to do. There's things built into the LEAP assessment that make it very difficult for a dyslexic child to do. We still work with them. We still provide support even on that assessment, and we still see growth in that also. So while our students' growth may look different, we are very passionate about being that place for students who don't have somewhere else to go. So
Thank you. I
we-
just wanted to make it clear that, and to understand your statement, because as educators, we believe every child can learn and succeed. But I was picking up on, am I understanding that they don't think kids can succeed beyond? So thank you for your statement.
All right, great. We have a few more. Hunter Layton supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. Arian Dukes supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. And then the last two, Ms. Caroline Romer to provide information only, wishes to speak. And then Dr. Laura Cassidy supports the recommendation, wishes to speak. And we'll start first with Mr. Layton. If you would state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Can y'all hear me well?
Yes.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hunter Layton. I'm in my senior year of high school at Woodlawn. And man, I went to Shenandoah Elementary up until 2nd grade. Every morning before school, I would be crying and jittery, like shaking, like actually like physically shaking before school every day. Like I hated school. Like I really did. And it messed me up mentally at a young age too. Teachers did everything they could do to try and get me on track, but it was like I was behind. Like I couldn't catch up. And I'm so grateful for my parents. They got me tested. They were trying to figure out what was the problem because I'm a smart kid at home. What's going on in the classroom? They found out I had dyslexia, and after looking into different schools, we found LKA. It's like an immediate like change. Like within my first day of school, I was expecting to be the same way, shaking and scared and crying, and it was an immediate change. Like I'm life-changing. I was happy to be there. I was learning, like I was top of my class, like succeeding. This is a huge change. Imagine how my parents felt. You know, what were they gonna do with me if I continued staying in Shenandoah Elementary? I went to OK up until my 8th grade year, and afterwards, I was fully prepared. I went to Baton Rouge High, and I got Student of the Year my freshman year. I graduated with a 4.0. I felt so comfortable at school. I was stressed out, but I mean, that's because of how much I like applied myself. afterwards, I switched schools to Woodlawn to pursue basketball. So I figured, I only have so much time to. But this school really did change my life and my parents' life for the better. It really did. And I believe that not having it expanded is taking away the ability for other students like me for their lives to change and their parents' lives to change. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Next, Ms. Dukes.
Hi, my name's Ariane Dukes, and I'm currently a senior at Liberty Magnet High School, where I have a 4.0 GPA, and I also have a 27 on the ACT, and then my super score is a 28. And I would just like to say that LK really helped me become the person I am today. Without them, I don't think I would be able to achieve everything that I have in high school. And I truly believe that LK has helped me be more prepared than some of my peers in school. Although I do go to Liberty Magnet High School, where I think we're a school, I'm pretty sure. I am scoring better than the kids who don't have dyslexia, and that is a true, like, showing to LK and how much they helped. I remember one day at LK, I was struggling with like a writing assignment we had, and my teacher came and sat by me, and she was like, "It's okay, like everyone struggles with everything, and you're special because you have dyslexia and you view things different than other people." And since that day, every time I have struggled with an assignment or struggled with spelling something or pronouncing something, I always think of her. And it really just showed me that it's okay to be different. And it's really nice that I had someone in my corner, because one thing I can tell you about being at such a big school is that there isn't enough people to help people who are struggling. And there's a lot of kids that go unseen in schools, and they just end up failing out, or they feel dumb, or they feel unseen. And I think that LKA is really showing, families and students that it's okay to have dyslexia. We're going to help you. You're going to get through it, and we're going to work it out. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Romer.
Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Romer. I'm the Executive Director of the Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools. We're a membership organization supporting, promoting, and advocating for charters across the state. I give this speech every year, and it's been 18 years. We don't, as an organization, come to the table and support or not support recommendations around applications. That's not the work we do. Instead, we work with authorizers like the Department of Ed and Bessie to ensure that we create policies that recognize what charters are about. And I think you've heard that today from this particular school. Charters are about giving families choices, in particular when families don't feel like they have choices. Charters are about giving educators the opportunity to innovate and make decisions as close to students that they're serving as possible, but it's all backed up with accountability. And the idea is that we set high standards and high expectations. Our goal is that all children meet their full potential. And that potential is going to look different across all kids. And we know for a fact that not all schools can meet the needs of all students. And so to create special mission charters brings us joy. And we have all kinds across the state. Some doing foreign language, some doing STEM, some like dyslexia. We have charters that are serving students with severe and profound needs such as autism. So that idea, again, special mission, understanding not all kids need the same thing, that choice for families. It's very powerful. And I am so happy to see these families here and be happy, right? And feel like their students are getting what they need. But I say to you again, I think we have work to do around the accountability. If we believe that all schools are different and that they may serve students in different ways, then how do we create frameworks and policies that will recognize that? Because your job at the end of the day as an authorizer is to have a rigorous process that clearly sets the expectation and then figures out how to measure the data, data-driven decision-making. A lot of times in education, it's very emotional. Families want their schools to stay open. Happy schools, happy families. It doesn't always mean, though, that things are getting done in that building on behalf of students. So you need policies and measurements that give you the data you need to know if this school and future schools deserve the privilege to do this work. And so whatever you decide here today, just know that your decision impacts your future decisions. And what I try to remove when I'm working with people like Ms. Gilson, when we are working together, it's trying to remove subjectivity and get to, again, measurable outcomes, and then just be consistently clear on what those expectations are and how you measure them. And so whether it's Key Academy or some other applicant, Louisiana has one of the most rigorous application processes in the country. We created and put in law the requirement for a third-party evaluation because we felt like to put independent eyes on an application and remove all the politics, all the, again, subjectivity, everything else, and just to the best of our ability on a piece of paper, does it make sense to give an organization this opportunity? What I have seen over the years is we are not consistent when we accept the third-party evaluation recommendation and when we don't. Some have missed 30 standards and they get approved, and some have missed 2 and don't. So I do believe we have work to do, and I want to compliment Ms. Gilson and her team. We work very closely and full agreement on the need to be consistent around those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Cassidy.
Hey, I'm Laura Cassidy.
Here,
Some of you,
pull those microphones a little closer to you.
how's that?
Much better.
I get 2 of them?
You get 2.
Okay, so I know many of you, I don't know all of you. I'm Laura Cassidy. I'm the interim CEO of LKA, and I've been with the organization since its inception. So my background is as a physician. I work with the Shawitzes who have done the science, and my job has been to try to bring the science of what dyslexia is into the classroom. I have several articles that I do want to touch on. And I think the discussion today has been great. I actually thank you, everybody, for the criticisms and whatever, because I think dyslexia is an important topic. Now, Caroline got 5 and I got 3, but I'll do my best. The first is from the Journal of Pediatric Neuropsychology, and it's May 2025. It compares traditional school model of reading instruction to a more intense instruction as seen at LKA. On a positive note, schools identified and provided interventions for 3/4 of the dyslexic readers. Unfortunately, this data indicates that the interventions were ineffective, contributing to an ever-increasing existing gap between typical and dyslexic readers that extends into adult life. Our findings provide strong support for the need for more intensive and comprehensive interventions. That's what our school is. It's the science of reading on steroids. It's 90 minutes a day, 6 kids or less with a trained teacher. And the reason this is important is that we have data that shows that kids that are not identified and taught are more likely to drop out of school, more likely to have reduced wages, and more likely to be incarcerated. The second study is a study from Nature, Journal of Learning. And basically what this study shows is that early reading levels in 1st grade, along with the trajectory of reading development through the first 5 years of school, were associated with reading scores in adulthood. Basically, for dyslexic readers, reading in 1st grade particular, that trajectory is strongly related to reading in adulthood. So where you read at the end of 5th grade, that percentile, that's where you're going to read as an adult. Your reading will improve just like other students, but it is going to be in that percentile. Our smallest class is 1st grade. Our second smallest class is 2nd grade. We have an onslaught, not an onslaught, I wish it was, of students in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. Usually by 6th grade, they're in our school. Sometimes it's later than that. The achievement gap is there in the 1st grade. This study has been submitted to Nature. It's in peer review. I'm the first author. It says the findings from this longitudinal study provide compelling evidence for the effectiveness of a specialized structured literacy environment, improving reading outcomes among students with dyslexia. Consistent with prior research indicating early, intensive, explicit reading instruction is critical for this population. Students at the LKA demonstrated robust gains in both decoding and reading comprehension skills. Importantly, these gains were sustained over multiple academic years and were particularly pronounced among students with the most severe initial impairments. You see, we have lots of crying at our school because they're failing. They're moderate to severe. And the other important thing is the lack of significant differences across demographic subgroups is noteworthy, indicating that the benefits of the intervention at LKA extend across racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic lines. So I've got 42 seconds. In summary, we have this window in 1st through 5th grade. I wish we could get them all in the 1st grade. That's when the gap's there. That's when we can do the most. But we take kids at any point in time. And as was alluded to, some come in at the 1st grade and they transition out. And we call that success. And it might be in the 4th grade or the 5th grade. But we've got that certain amount of time. We are in intensive science of reading, which I talked about, 90 minutes, 6 kids. We teach them how to read and we give them grade level material. And lastly, what you heard from the parents, some of these kids aren't going to be great readers, but we're going to give them what they need to learn to be successful. And we're giving them their self-esteem that's been robbed or damaged, but that is part of what we do. I appreciate what y'all do, and I can take questions or we can call it a rest.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cassidy. Thank you to all who have made public comments. Are there any other questions or comments? Mrs. Holloway?
Yes. Laura, can you verify the location? Have you worked on it?
St. Mary, it's in Metairie, St. Mary Magdalene Catholic School.
You've had a contract. It's a definite.
No, I'm not signing a contract until this is approved.
But they have.
Yes. And also, as far as the Jefferson Parish application, we asked to be denied. We're a type 2 charter. We have to be a type 2 charter. That's the process that's in law, that we go through the type 1 application first. We asked to be not, and they denied us favorably.
Okay, thank
Anything
you.
else?
Because of the word, we were getting that there were 2 and there was no verification on it. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Other questions, comments, Ms. Morris?
Yeah, I certainly appreciate, I'm sure we all do, the various perspectives that have been shared. I guess a couple things really stand out to me. Certainly Ms. Holloway's concerns about the low SPS is a concern. That's the method that we use to evaluate. I share Ms. Romer's comments about consistency and what role subjectivity plays in this decision-making process. Certainly, you guys have some great stories coming out of there. So there is some really good work that's being done. I guess the thing that probably for me personally, I struggle with the most, I can remember back, I guess 5 years or so ago now, when I first started serving in Bessie, and I read the book that you guys provided. And the estimate at that time was 20% of all of us have some dyslexic concern to varying degrees. I wasn't aware of it at the time, that it was so prevalent. And I guess over the years, it's gotten more and more attention, in some degree because of the work you guys are doing. But it's apparent that, in the traditional school systems, I'm not really sure, how well we identify the concern. And in the traditional school system, even when we do identify the concern, the level of expertise that we have to address the concern. So that bothers me. What are we doing in the traditional school system to address the concern? And then if parents are made aware of the concern, and they do have the option to choose a school for their children that specializes in the concern, that seems a value added to me, and at least you're in the right direction. But then we get back to, okay, how do I evaluate progress? How do I evaluate success? How do I evaluate a kid's mental health, in a different environment that's maybe more nurturing than the general public? So I understand in a traditional school, you look at the school performance, it's a bell curve. 72% of the kids are economically disadvantaged. But then I look at the population of Key Academy, which I visited 3 or 4 times. 100% of the kids have dyslexia, to one degree or another. So I'm not really sure. I don't understand anyway how you evaluate that student population's performance, and compare it to a traditional school system and expect to have the same type of outcomes. So I struggle with the evaluation system. I share Ms. Holloway's concerns about some of the the scores, but I'm also concerned about the method that's used to assess the performance as well. So I don't have the answer. I wish I had the answer, but that's my perspective from where I sit. Just wanted to share that.
I want to offer one comment, Mr. Morris. So whenever we do our accountability to meet the federal guidelines, we have a uniform system, which is why, to Bessie's credit, in working with Key and Max, Bessie developed and approved an alternate scoring system for their renewals. So whenever you have a Key or a Max come forward, their renewal decision is not based on the way in which we would base a traditional school. It's based on the alternate rubric. And so the last alternate rubric that we reviewed for a Key school was the Key Baton Rouge school, where they scored an 80 out of 100. So I want to give you all as a board credit, because you are, through the ways in which you can address that concern, addressing it.
Yeah, so make sure I understand. So what I'm hearing is that the annual SPS review, the same approach is used, but whenever the charter comes up for renewal, there are special considerations that are made with regard to renewal. Is that the right interpretation? Okay, great. And they're scoring 80 out of 100 on that. Okay, thank you.
Right. Mrs. Holloway.
I just need to clarify a statement, Laura. I assume that the dyslexia students are on 504 plans, and you indicated an IEP?
Yes, all of our students have moderate to severe dyslexia. They all qualify for an IEP, and they all are on an IEP. We are a Tier 3 curriculum.
Okay, thank you.
So they get 90 minutes of reading every day, 90 minutes of math. Our largest class is 18. The reading is, again, in groups of 6. We get 14,500 from the state. We spend 21,500 on a student.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions for the board, if there's anything. My concern is still, why aren't we focusing on how to assess her 3 schools in improving before expansion? I'm going to leave you with that thought, because as an authorizer on Bessie, we are obligated to have higher performance schools, student success, et cetera. Is there any way we can talk about a substitute motion to look at more data and growth info on the 3 existing schools before we reconsider and come back to reconsider?
You certainly can make that motion, Mrs. Holloway. So I presume you just have.
Yeah, a substitute motion that we can look at more data on the 3 schools. What does their growth look like? Their targets, and come back and reconsider this?
All right, there's a substitute motion. And there's a second to the motion. Mrs. Champagne. So there's a motion, there's a second. Is there any discussion with respect to the substitute motion?
My question is, what, if anything, does that do to the timeline for start of the school if it does get eventually approved? Does that impact the startup for the school if we delay it until October? Does 2 months make any difference?
Ms. Gilson, or maybe, I'm not sure. Ms. Dr. Cassidy, that might be a better question for you. Either one of you, if you know the answer.
Quite sure what data we're looking for. Are you looking for the next?
So
progress?
Mr. Morris's question was, how does that impact the opening or the opening of the school, given its timeline? And perhaps Dr. Cassidy might be able to comment
If
on.
if we delay until October to review, and if at that point the board did decide to approve the application, my question is, would that 2-month delay impact the start of the school, and if so, to what degree?
Well, they're definitely, I'm not saying it can't get done, but as soon as you all approve, we start the pre-opening process. And so there's a series of meetings. As you know, they need to sign a contract to actually get into a building, and then you need to do a lot of other board work. And then there are reports that we require here at the department. But I think my question is, what data between now and October?
I think it's a relevant question. I was going to get to that also next, ask Ms. Holloway, what is her specific data request? But irregardless of her request, if we delay the decision until October, then, I think first of all, we need to understand, does that, what's the significance of that with regard to the school's startup process? If we delay our decision for 2 months, I don't know if they can still open the school, in the same time period or not. So I guess that's really what I'm looking for, because if they say, well, no, we can't open the school, right, if you delay us 2 months, I think that's going to impact the decision that's on the table right now. So to me, that's the first question.
I think for me, I will say, I think it probably will put it would challenge the school to be able to open. Again, the school, then Bessie and the department began working on a contract when you guys actually approve. And with that contract, then the school can actually go out and get funding. It just sort of puts things behind, because there's a lot of work to be done for school to open successfully in August. And also there are probably grant opportunities that they may miss out on. So it would probably be a challenge. And again, I don't know what's the extra data we have for you for next October.
Right. So I would go back to Mr. Castile's question and pose it to Dr. Cassidy. Same question. If the board does delay a decision for 2 months, then what if any impact would that have to school startup? If in fact the board did approve the application in October?
So we will be ineligible for the CSP grants.
Okay, so it's a showstopper is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me, I guess I've got a different question and maybe comment, because what I've heard so far is that the concern of the board is that we have a framework by which we judge all schools in terms of our letter grading process that is giving the board some pause. On the other hand, we have an alternate framework for determining whether a school is approved, And that framework, by which we judged them, Key Academy scores 80 out of 100. If that alternative framework were the metric by which we measured them against all schools, they would, I don't know, what an 80 out of 100 given this framework would be a B or whatever it would be. But if it's a B in that regard, maybe our challenge is that because we've struggled with how to appropriately judge the quality of the school, that maybe there might need to be some consideration to realigning our assessments so that they are consistent, because perhaps we might be communicating mixed messages. When the letter grade comes out as FF out to the public and to the board, it's suggested that the school is not performing very well, but then we adjust, if you will, for consideration of approval. I don't know and those are questions, and I know Superintendent Brumley is ready to respond. But having said all of that, I'm not sure that that's something we will solve in 2 months, but it's a discussion that probably should take place for the other schools who are similarly positioned. So I think it is a very, very worthy conversation, not one that I think we're going to solve for today. I will just say the testimony offered by those who are taking advantage of it, and particularly the parent who spoke of her child in Central, an A+ school, but the performance of the individual child within that framework was very, very distorted. So I do think there's room for lots of conversation. I certainly agree with that, but I'm just not certain that we will solve it within 2 months. Dr. Clark, I'm sorry, Dr. Brumley, then Dr. Clark.
I just want to remind you of what you can and you cannot change here. So you cannot necessarily change the way in which we have to calculate performance scores for the feds, and that manner in which we have to do that. Obviously, the school's letter grade is not where we would like to see it, but their progress is a B. So what you have under your control and what you have taken action to address is through the alternate framework for this school. So let me just, Louisiana Department of Education, this is the Bessie approved alternate framework, alternate charter framework, Louisiana Key Academy and Matt's charter schools. These are the two charter schools that you have that are serving 100% of a dyslexic population. When we put the school up against the framework that you all approved for schools that are for 100% dyslexic children, they score 80 out of 100. So I just want to call out the fact that we can't solve for things we can't solve for, which is the universal SBS and letter grade, but you have solved, and I want to give you credit for solving for what you can solve for, which is the way in which you determine renewal, and you've done that. And if there's a specific data request, Ms. Holloway, I'd like to know what it is, just because I think Ms. Gilson probably has that available.
Can I ask a quick question? I think what I'd like, I know we're talking about their performance of 80, but the reason why the board members have this information in front is because I requested it so you could understand the framework. And if you look on the backside, what supports the improvement is the progress monitoring from DIBELS to STEEP to CTOP, or the numeracy with STAR Math. These are progress monitoring scores. It's not like it's not an assessment like LEAP. So so it's the training of the knowledge of what this framework is about compared to LEAP assessment, et cetera.
Can I
So,
ask a question?
I'm done.
My question is, are the schools considered alternative settings type schools, or are they not?
They are not on an alternative school that actually uses the alternative accountability formula.
So then my question is, when we talk about the 80 out of 100, and I think this is going back to what Sandy is asking, I don't want the board to believe that it's based upon LEAP assessments because it's not. So my question is, what standardized assessment is being used to measure that 80 out of 100 on that framework? Is it consistent across all the schools? If it's not considered in an alternative setting school and it's not being under the alternative accountability, but just a framework, I just need to understand the consistency of how that's happening. And again, show me the standardization to get to the 80, because then allow me to give any test. I can get to the 80 to 100 out of 100 too. I just want to make sure that we are consistent, going back to what Ms. Roma said, and making sure as we do these approvals, we're consistent. And I don't feel today that we are.
So can I answer that?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, the LEAP is on the renewal. We look at our students' growth. Part of the problem is there's less than 1% identification of students with dyslexia in Louisiana. And again, we have all moderate to severe. So if there was a comparison group, we would take that any time to look for growth in any measure you want to. But we don't have that data. But we do, part of that renewal is based on the LEAP. It is, and I think whether you want to consider it as valid or not, the CTOP is a standardized test, and it is assessing whether the child can access the language system. It is the prerequisite for the child to learn how to read. We have 40% of students that read below basic. In Louisiana, they are functionally illiterate. And so that is what we do, which they are not getting in a traditional school. And that's some of the data that Andromeda spoke of. We are getting them into the average range of that phonological assessment. Then we work on oral reading fluency. That's what they're looking at, because if they don't have that gateway, they are not going to learn anything. And that's why they are on the charter renewal framework.
And again, and I'm not going to just point this toward you, because then my question becomes, for a traditional regular school such as mine, maybe, am I given that same accountability option for the students that I am serving who are dyslexic? I just want to make sure we're consistent across the board, because it's even harder for schools that are traditionally run with all types of kids that we are still responsible by law to administer the the same accommodations and all the different items that we should to kids who are dyslexic. But now when we have a specialized school, why is there a different alternative framework given for that accountability versus a traditional setting? It's just a question.
Thank you. Dr. Clark, what I would address your point is that the same standard is used for both your school and that school, because that's the SPS.
No,
What's different is the method that's used for the charter renewal. That's what's different. But the regular SPS evaluation is the same for both schools. What, help me understand what I'm missing. But the system that, my understanding is the system that traditional school uses today uses the standard SPS evaluation process. The Key Academy uses the same SPS evaluation process. They get a score, traditional schools get a score. Right now, our perception is that their score is extremely low, and we're trying to understand, what's going on there. But then Superintendent Brumley's explained to us that there is a different evaluation process that's used for renewals. So one is a snapshot in time, what's your SPS, and the other is for charter applications for them to be renewed. Then for that renewal process, there are special considerations that are made in that system because of the unique student population, where 100% of those kids are dyslexic, as opposed to the traditional school where you're looking at a bell curve. That's the way I interpret.
So you do
the
understand, like, we are charter schools too, regardless, and that framework is not used for our students who are in charter schools outside a traditional school setting. And then there's also alternative setting schools that do exist that also have that framework that's used for them. So I do not have that framework in my charter school.
For renewal?
For renewal for anything.
Right, but I think
For renewal,
if
no,
I'm, if
not
I'm
for
under-
renewal.
but if I'm understanding you though, I think where your conversation is coming from is, should it be used for your renewal? Is that where you're
It
going?
should be used consistently across the board if we're going to, if it's not an alternative setting type school.
Okay.
That, I'm just making sure if we're gonna be consistent, let's be consistent all the way through.
Mr. Harris?
Thank you. This is a good conversation. I know when I was chairman of education and in the legislature, state of Louisiana ignored this problem for many, many years, dyslexia. Me and that gentleman back there, we looked at the data. Let's get back to what this particular item is. It's approving this school in Metairie to help kids with dyslexia. We've opened up a lot of other questions about, is it fair to to any other schools and everything else? And I think that's a good discussion to have, but it's a different discussion. This is about opening this school in Metairie, getting these kids the help that they need as soon as possible when she can get open. And my question on the substitute motion is, what data? Well, we don't know for sure, but what is 2 months going to do? If I was a betting guy, I'd say we'd be back here in October because the Department of Education is recommending we do this with conditions that we're going to vote this through in October. The data is not going to change much with this. We've already got this alternative grading score. So either let's approve this charter or don't. This discussion about this whole thing should have happened months, if not years ago, about how we need to make it more consistent. But today's question is, do we approve this charter school? So that's my comments, and I will object to the substitute motion. Thank you.
Make an observation, and Mr. Harris, I think on many levels you're correct, but I'll go back to what Ms. Romer pointed out, and that this is a policy-making body, which sort of speaks to some of the issues that Dr. Clark and others are raising, and that is that while we do have presented before us the particular issue of the particular school, which is what we will ultimately have to vote on in very, very shortly, it does raise some policy issues that probably need to be addressed, and that we don't want to leave and they never resurface again until this comes up again with respect to a particular charter. So it warrants some consideration. I'm not sure the process by which we do that, but because we are a policy-making body and these issues present some policy considerations that at some point we should revisit that. That said, I think Senator Appel, did you have your hand raised? Okay, he waives his additional comments. There's a motion by Mrs. Holloway to defer this item until October, and a second. Are there any objections to that motion? We have at least one objection. Are there other objections to the motion? There are two objections. Can I have a roll call vote, please? And we'll state the motion just so that we're clear what an affirmative vote is in favor, and any objections to that motion.
Okay, Mr. Appel.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Holloway?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I think she was going to respond to stating what the motion is. And is everyone clear that there's a motion to defer this item? And all in favor of that, that's where we're going to start with. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Appel? Yes? No. Mr. Appel, no. Dr. Armstrong? Yes. Yes. Mr. Birkin? No. Ms. Champagne?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Clark? Yes? I can't hear. Mr. Harris?
No.
No. Mr. Hollis is absent. Ms. Holloway? Yeah, your motion. Ms. Millery? No. Mr. Morris?
No.
No. Oh, Ms. Castile, do you want to vote?
No.
You're saying
I'm
no?
saying no. I'd like to vote, and the vote is no.
6 no, 1, 2, 3, 4 yeas. Motion failed.
All right, that brings us back to the original motion, which is the motion to accept the recommendation by the department to approve the charter application for Louisiana Key Academy Jefferson. Any objections to the original motion? We have one objection. Any other objections to the original motion? All right, there are two objections. With those two noted objections, the motion passes. All right, next item.
Your next item is on page 48, item 4.2, consideration of a report regarding types 2, 4, and 5 charter contracts and requests for amendments. The recommendation is to approve as outlined.
I'm sorry, do we have to do the other?
So
one?
we have recommendation number 2, which is to deny the type 2 charter application.
It's the original motion.
Okay. All right. So just for clarification, as a part of the motion that just passed, we also accepted the recommendation
To deny.
to deny. We probably should have bifurcated those just so that we clarify. And in fact, why don't we do that? I'll note for the record that we pulled that out, that there is a recommendation for this particular item to deny the request by the Department of Education. Is there a motion to accept the department's recommendation with respect to that particular item? Mr. Birkin, do you move? Yes, he moves and Senator Appel seconds. Any objection to the motion to accept the department's recommendation to deny this particular charter application? Hearing no objections, that particular motion passes. All right, now the next.
Now we can do for page 48, 4.2, consideration of report regarding type 2, 4, and 5 charter contracts and requests for amendments. The recommendation is to approve as outlined.
Is there a motion to approve this particular item? Mr. Harris moves. Is there a second? Second by Senator Appel. Any questions or comments by the board? I'll note my recusal for the record, but that item passes. All right, next item.
Is there a presentation?
Was there a presentation with respect to? No. Yes.
He's refusing.
Yes.
4.2. Okay. Your next item is on page 52, item 4.3, consideration of the 25-26 request for applications timeline and common charter application framework. The recommendation is to approve, authorizing the LDOE to amend the timeline as needed and noting Bessie will be notified of any revisions.
Is there a motion? Mr. Broken, seconded by Mr. Morris.
So Mr. Castile, Ms. Gilson will make a brief presentation just to provide you information on the timeline and the application for chartering moving forward. Ms.
Thank you,
Gilson.
Dr. Brumley. And so we did update you all on one of the newsletters. This is the timeline for the request for applications. This will start for us after applicants have gone through the local and then they move here to the Bessie. This also does provide for you the application and the rubric used. And so this will be posted on our website. We have had no changes. Remember, we did a lot of work last year on making sure that the application was up to standard. And so there have been no changes to the application. And this just provides for you the timeline so that we can get this to the locals and they would know when they would have to get their decisions to us.
Questions? Any questions or comments? All right, any objections to the motion? Motion passes. Next item. Did you ever, anything else? I'm sorry. All right.
Your next item is on page 96, item 5.1, consideration of revisions to Bulletin 126, charter schools in response to legislation of the 2025 regular legislative session. The recommendation is to approve as a notice of intent.
All right, may I get a motion to accept this item? Ms. Champagne, second, Dr. Clark. All right.
These are just promulgation of rules relative to 3 acts of the legislature.
All right. Questions, comments? We have one public comment. Mr. Dr. Baker waives. He wishes to, does not wish to speak anymore, but supports the recommendation. All right, next item.
Your next item is on page 99, item 6.1, consideration of an update report regarding the LA Gator Scholarship Program. The recommendation is to receive.
Motion to receive, Mr. Birkin. Ms. Champagne seconds the motion, and we have a presentation.
Yes, sir. So this board had asked over time to continue updates on the Gator Scholarship Program. And we are now up and running, and that's a ton of credit to Ms. Gilson, Mr. Moore, and the school choice team and the work that they've been doing. So Caleb, do you want to give this presentation?
Absolutely. Happy to share with you this afternoon a quick update on the implementation of the LA Gator Scholarship Program. Of course, we'll go over some milestones from the last 2 months, including this month as well, information about the students participating in the program, and then the support information for the program. Starting off with milestones here, in June, schools were confirming enrollments and setting tuition. So the schools would go into their Odyssey profiles and set their tuition amounts. Parents would then see those and confirm their tuition amounts. Families would then go to their school of choice, do the school's enrollment process. And then if they changed from that point on to now, Odyssey would help them change their school enrollment. In July, the accounts were funded and the marketplace opened. Student accounts were funded in the rank order up to the amount of the appropriation from the legislature. Awarded accounts prompted to opt in or opt out of the program on July 23rd. By July 31st. And then the marketplace opened and accounts were funded on July 23rd. This month in August, tuition payments began and the marketplace opened and would remain open for the duration of the program. Student accounts continue to make tuition payments. Marketplace remains open for families to make purchases. And the vendor application will actually remain open throughout the duration of the program as well. As of July 23rd, and this hasn't changed too much, the satisfaction with the Odyssey platform is still around 88.7%. And I will point out that this is for any interaction with Odyssey support. So including those families that may not have been awarded this year, everyone who's interacted with Odyssey support from our side and the reviews that we've been able to see have been very, very satisfied with the timely and quick and helpful support that they've gotten from Odyssey. So information about participation in the program. Of course, we had over 39,000 applications, over 34,000 eligible students. Of those at the time this was pulled, we had 5,867 awarded students. 5,190 of those were formerly in the Louisiana Scholarship Program, and 344 of them have a validated tier for as a student with this disability under IDEA. Top cities by awarded students, of course, we'll see New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Monroe, Marrero, and Slidell in the top 5, and then the rest of these still pretty consistent with what we've seen throughout the application process. We have 269 registered BESI-approved non-public schools participating and accepting students in this program. I believe I have an updated number. I know the registered service providers number is now over 500 with thousands of offerings on the marketplace, all of which are approved under the categories that were set by this board. 255 of these service providers, pretty consistently 50 to 60% of the providers on the marketplace are Louisiana providers. So it's great to see those Louisiana vendors offering their services on the marketplace. Of course, we'll always share this support information for any family seeking support with the LA Gator program. And I'd like to add as well, our team is in the field now and throughout the duration of the program, visiting the schools, ensuring quality, and they'll continue to do that throughout the school years of this program as well. But with that concludes the update report on LA Gator.
Right, thank you. Senator Appel?
2 quick questions. Could you give us not right now, but send us a rough breakdown of the type of services by some kind of categorization that the service, I think it was 448?
Yes.
In other words, how many of these are tutoring providers? How many of these are computer, whatever they are, just in general categories?
Absolutely.
I'd like to see that. Number 2, can we go back to slide 7 for 1 second? I want just to ask a stupid question. All right, you got 5,190 previous scholarship. Shouldn't that over time go to 0?
So this,
I mean, that was the previous scholarships, but as they're aging out.
Yeah, as they matriculate out of the system, that will consistently decline.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like I keep seeing that number, but it seems like it should be diminishing and then it'll eventually go to 0.
It will. Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Thank you.
Mr. Birkin.
The satisfaction rate has dropped by 5 points. What's the beef?
From what we've seen, a lot of that correlated with the time that families were notified of their funding status. And then this score correlates to all interactions with Odyssey support. So families that may have been funded or may have not been funded, all accessed Odyssey support at that time. We think that those interactions may have skewed that a bit. We've seen a few isolated cases of issues with scheduled callbacks, but those have been few and far between. And to my understanding, we haven't gotten any of those recently.
Mr. Birkin, I'll streamline the answer. 39,000 applicants, 5,000 were awarded. So there were a lot of people that weren't happy.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And yet,
Very satisfied.
any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, any objections to the motion? That motion passes. Next item.
That concludes your agenda.
All right, we are adjourned.